Hey everyone, good morning. We are on closing arguments today for the Sanderson v. Gwyneth Paltrow ski crash trial. Still a mouthful to say that for me, but we had rebuttals earlier. It was very short. I guess some of the experts that Terry had were unavailable today, or I guess some of them did video depositions and they're not as flexible with their schedule, which does suck for him. And his only rebuttal witness was Dr. Boehm, if you guys remember him. Dr. Boehm had the green screen in the background, and he was the one that was talking about how it was impossible for Terry to land on Gwyneth and then to sustain broken ribs. He also did like the physics calculation. Dr. Boehm is a neurologist. Was a neurologist? Yeah, he was a neurologist, and he also had like maybe a specialty in like biomechanical engineering, I think. And so he went up there, did the rebuttals, and it was it was a very tough, shaky testimony. The audio was really bad. Dr. Boehm is on vacation. It was it was just not good audio. Like here's a little sample of what was going on. It was very robotic.
I decide not to, but this obviously makes it so I can't do that.
Hi, good morning.
If I decided that I wanted to.
Both parties are going to be hamstrung on this, so why don't we take it as it comes?
I'm in for to determine who are falling downward.
So the expert that Gwyneth Paltrow hired testified saying that Dr. Boehm had his calculations wrong. He had his, since his calculation was wrong, his theory is wrong. And so Dr. Boehm's going out there and explaining why he did the calculation that he did. And, you know, it was a very rough video testimony to listen to. And after some technical issues, they were finally able to get Dr. Boehm on the phone and talk through that instead. But the jury didn't really get a good, I don't know, I just feel like you don't really get a good visual when you don't get to see the person, and then they don't get to explain the equations and stuff like that, because a lot of this math stuff, I mean, physics is tough to comprehend sometimes. It's just going to go over their head. So not really much went on with rebuttal. Dr. Boehm went on there. James had a bunch of questions that he wanted to ask, but he couldn't because, you know, they weren't able to do the video communication. And yeah, that's about it. Not much for rebuttals. I thought rebuttals were going to be a lot more spicier, I guess. But yeah, unfortunately for Terry, it's tough, you know. Rebuttal would have been really important to rebut a lot of the important claims that her experts made. But because I'm going to kick my dog out real quick. Hold on, Steve. Okay, sorry about that. Hi, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello. Did you guys have good sleep last night? Where was I? I lost my trail of thoughts. Something about it being tough for Terry, didn't have live rebuttal witnesses. Dr. Boehm's testimony was a little bit tough. And yeah, they went over jury instructions. What I didn't know, I guess because maybe it's a civil case, they don't need to have a jury's unanimous decision on this one. Only 6 people need to agree on each item. And we're going to listen to closing arguments. I hope closing arguments will be better than opening statements, because opening statements was pretty rough. I think Owens did okay job with getting his information across, but it seemed like he was a little bit all over the place. So I don't know if that jury was kind of like, it was hard to follow him. I feel like it's going to be really important to have a good, clean closing argument, get to the point, and yeah, just make it easy for the jury to understand what the heck that you're saying. And then the other attorney who did the opening statement for Terry Sanderson, that one was rough to listen to, because he kind of just standing there reading the paper, you know, reading his little notes that he had, and I felt like it was really boring to listen to. But let me do a new poll. Let's see. Let's start a poll, and we'll do. Who is at fault? Or who caused the crash? actually, let's see what someone said. Was there negligence? Negligence. Neither side has proved negligence. Don't know. Okay. How about this new question? Negligence. Do you think either party were negligent? I wonder how long this break is. Here, let me copy paste this. And then, hey, what's going on, KK? How are you doing today? Oh, I guess I should use this time to eat. Or maybe I'll eat when they do their closing arguments. How long do you think the jury will deliberate for? I think it's going to be a quick deliberation, especially since you only need 6 people to agree on each item. And there's like, what, like 9? Hey, I'm doing good. Hello, hello. I started a bit early today because I knew that today was going to be a early release day for court. I think they should be done. They're probably going to be done in like 2 hours, to be honest, 2.5 hours. Maybe even less than that. I don't think closing arguments will be that long. But I hope they prepared very well for the closing arguments. But, you know, some of the lawyers are sick. That might be tough to deal with. They're probably not getting a lot of sleep. Maybe they're nervous because this is also being broadcasted on stream. Hi, Pancakes. How are you doing today? Yeah, so I can understand why Gwyneth Paltrow doesn't want the camera to be on her all the time. It's kind of annoying, I guess, to have everyone constantly stare at you and then look at your every facial expressions and then make fun of that and then, you know, basically just judge you. Yeah, they did make an agreement that the camera would only be faced towards someone if there was a purpose, meaning if they were speaking, not just pointing at them just for the sake of just us staring at them, right? So, yeah, I mean, I understand. I wonder what happened with the court TV thing, though, because Owens was complaining about, oh, court TV, you know, they violated it 3 times already. And the judge was like, 3 times? Are you sure it was court TV? Are you sure it wasn't? I think there was another company. There was another news outlet. It was like AP News or something like that kept having still photo shots on Paltrow. Hi, Mace. How are you doing today? You hope she wins to scam her? I think it's because of what happened to AH. Yeah, I mean, I can understand. You know, people are gonna look at your every facial expression, try to clip it and stuff like that for thumbnails. But the AH one was bizarre. She's a bizarre person. No one in this trial is as bizarre as her, in my opinion. Can't decide if I should have sushi or Chipotle burrito for lunch. 60 for $10. Oh man. It depends on what you ate all the other days. If I ate like crab, I would go for something maybe a little bit, you know, cleaner, healthier, like sushi. I mean, Chipotle is not bad, but Chipotle is just like a lot of sodium. I don't know. That's a tough one. You're asking the wrong person because for me, I'm like, both. Get everything. Get it all. You think they're going to decide in 1 hour? Yeah, I mean, for the Murdoch trial, they decided in like 45 minutes. But I think it'll be a quick one. I don't think they're going to want to come back, especially after the weekend, to come back and deliberate. I think Utah's having some sort of like snow. Actually, let's look at Utah weather. Utah weather. New winter storm watches issued for Utah. Oh man, they definitely do not want to come back. Where in Utah is this? Do you guys know? Where in Utah? I'm looking at I think this is Salt Lake right now. Where is Paltrow? It's in Park City, Utah. Okay. Park City, Utah. Oh, did you watch the video about Shia LaBeouf? Maybe we should watch it together. There's a video about Shia LaBeouf, and I forgot what's the name of the YouTube channel. It's crazy. It is wild. A lot of mixed feelings. Like, I feel like my emotional roller coaster was just all over the place with the Shia LaBeouf video. But someone says the Shia LaBeouf trial delayed. Wait, what's the Shia LaBeouf trial? What's going on with him? I did watch a video. I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, are you multitasking? Nice. I think if anyone in the jury has been injured in an accident, they might be more sympathetic to Terry. Possibly. I want to know if there's anyone who's anyone that is familiar with physics in the jury. If they're like, oh, actually, you know what? This expert is completely wrong. I'm going to go with this expert. Oh, that's right. I'm checking the weather. Oh, yeah. Jury, they definitely do not want to come back. Park City, Utah. Snowing today, snowing tomorrow. And then I seriously doubt they're not going to be able to make a decision by Friday at the end of the day. But Monday snowing, Tuesday snowing, Wednesday snowing. Oh my goodness. I wonder how much snow they're going to get. I wonder how many inches. Jeez. Isn't it technically it's spring now, right? 3 to 5 inches? What? Okay, let's see how much they're getting. So Thursday tonight, 1 to 3 inches tonight. Oh my goodness. Friday morning, 1 to 3 inches. And then where's Saturday, Sunday? Why does it just skip to Monday? Monday, 1 to 3 inches. Oh, I was just kidding. I didn't open up Saturday, Sunday. Oh, that's because Saturday, Sunday, it's not snowing. Oh my God, 1 to 3 inches. Yeesh. Okay, I don't know anything about the Shia LaBeouf trial. I just heard that, what's going on with Shia LaBeouf? Yeah, he's been pretty nasty with his ex-girlfriends, right? And he's married right now to the woman that did the horror movie. What's her name? Mia something. I forgot her name. Oh God, the Boone's trial. I need to catch up on that. The woman who locked her husband in a suitcase, right? And then she was like, oh, it was an accident. I haven't watched the interrogation video yet. I have a list of things that I did want to catch up on, but I have her interrogation video, and then I have a police body cam footage of when they first confronted her, I think. So that person sounds really interesting. Yeah, Mia Goth. Are they still together? Yeah, she was in this movie. Have you seen it? Oh my God. This movie's wild. Pearl? An X? I didn't watch the actual movie. I watched a YouTube channel called Foundflix, and they do really great recaps. Especially if you're interested in horror movie stories, but you don't want to watch like the jump scenes and all that scary stuff. So I love that channel. Yeah, is she still married to Shia LaBeouf? I think that's what the video said. Mia Goth. Who is she married to? I know she and Shia LaBeouf have kids together. Oh, never mind. A statement from Shia to the outlet reads, Mia and Shia have filed for divorce. The separation is amicable. Okay, they're not together anymore. Damn, Shia LaBeouf is 36 years old. Oh my God. Did anyone here watch Even Steven? I loved Even Steven. Okay, so he's supposed to have trial next month, but it's been delayed. Okay. Yeah, I wish I could remember what video I watched. Actually, I can probably just look it up on YouTube. Let's see. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf. Oh, it's no, not this one. Oh, Patrick CC. This one right here. This is the video. Maybe we'll watch it together or something. The Brutal Lies of Shia LaBeouf. And I think it has Mia Goth on the left side, and on the right side was one of his ex-girlfriends. I forgot her name. She's like a musician. They're still together? I don't know. Maybe they're together, maybe not together. I know they have kids together, right? 1 or 2 kids or something. Should I admit that he hurts his closest people? I just thought it was crazy that he went with he like came out and said that he was horribly abused by his dad. And then he was getting arrested, doing a lot of controversial things. And then I think like didn't he go to rehab or something? And then ended up writing a script for a movie or a play. And so he decides to do a story about, about him growing up with an abusive father. He wanted to get his dad to have the movie come out. And then Child told his dad that he lied to his dad saying that Mel Gibson would play his role to get the dad to agree. But then in fact, it was Shia LaBeouf that was going to play the role of his dad, which is kind of interesting. Like imagine playing the role of your abuser in your life. But then, the movie came out. It seems like he was doing really good, got good recognition. I think won an award. And years after that, he came out and said, "Oh, my dad never abused me. My dad never did those things." And it's like, wait, what? Like the movie that you made about your dad, your family, your life, like this was part of your redemption arc. And now you're just going to say that, that never happened. I don't know. It's really interesting, odd, weird. So I don't know what to believe, because a lot of people were like, the reason why he's so messed up is because he had such a tough childhood. His dad was really horrible to him. Being a child actor, hard. But yeah, I don't know. Hi, Jill. How are you doing today? Do you want to watch it together? We can watch it together. I think the video is maybe like 20, 30 minutes long. As a Swede, I think divorce in the U.S. is strange. Half alimony, child support. I'm a divorced man with 2 kids and don't pay nothing because I have kids half time. I'm trying to think. If the parents split the kids half and half, do they still get child support? I think they do if there's a huge difference between the income between the parents. So in the U.S., typically it's like anything that you earn during the course of the marriage is supposed to be half and half, Let's say, for example, you have one parent that was the breadwinner, and then you have another parent that stayed home, but raised the kids and everything, took care of the house stuff. If they end up splitting the kids half and half, I think the dad or whoever made the most money, the mom, whatever, would still pay alimony, I think, and child support. I don't know. I don't know how it is if it's like half and half split. Possibly, probably. And it just depends on what you agree on too. Yeah. I liked Shia until you found out about I liked watching him on Even Steven. And then I just remember seeing him in Holes. He was in Transformers. He was like up and coming. I think he was even in iRobot, right? I think he had like a little cameo in iRobot. But I mean, I wasn't like a diehard fan of him or anything like that. I was like, oh yeah, like this is so I'm so happy for him. He's getting these movie roles. And then I just remember seeing a lot of like batshit crazy stuff happening afterwards. And I was like, oh, this must just be some, child celebrity trauma thing that's coming out in his like late adulthood. Terry won't go quietly if he loses. You think so, Alma? I feel like Terry could have milked this more by doing more press conferences. To my knowledge, I think he only did 1 press conference talking about Gwyneth Paltrow crashing into him. And I think that's about it. I don't think he's been going on a tour or anything like that. I feel like he would have just milked the crap out of it, going like a worldwide tour, doing all these interviews with different people. I try to find interviews with Terry. I was even trying to find the press conference one, but I couldn't. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does lose and he feels like, he lost unfairly. I wouldn't be surprised if he does like talk about it for a little bit, but I don't know. Honestly, I feel like, I don't know, Terry, you just got to enjoy the rest of your life, man. You got kids, you got grandchildren. Just go enjoy the rest of your life. It is what it is. No point in, I mean, you could try appealing, but I don't know. I feel like, I don't think he's going to appeal though, but I feel like if he does try to appeal, like, I feel like if I'm in my 70s, I don't want to be in courtrooms. Okay. I just want to chill, do some art stuff, hang out with some animals, be in my garden, play video games, maybe do a little bit of traveling. Disturbia. Oh, I love Disturbia. I thought it was really good. Amber style. Oh God. No. I think Elaine style. That's why you never meet or know your heroes. Oh my gosh, yeah. So like, are you guys familiar with TwitchCon? Twitch is like a streaming site that mostly caters to video games, but now it's exploded to doing other things. Like a lot of people do IRL. It's called IRL stuff where they stream their life, they stream their travels. They just like, sit here kind of like what I'm doing right now, react to stuff. And yeah, I don't know. They have something called TwitchCon where once a year, everyone gets together, all the streamers, the viewers, they all come into, participate in this convention. And yeah, I don't know. So sometimes when you meet like other streamers, I'm like, oh my God, they're so different than how they are on stream, which makes sense because usually you're more like an exaggerated version of yourself on stream for the most part than you are in real life. But dude, sometimes when you see like a huge difference in personality where they're just like, oh, you can just tell they're being completely fake on stream. That's what it's just like, ugh. Like I definitely met a couple people like that where I'm just like, He can make big money doing TV interviews. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he does to pay the legal fees. I wouldn't blame him. He's got a team of 4, 5, 6 lawyers. I wouldn't blame him. Man, what are we doing for break? That was gonna be like a 5-minute break. He can make more money on books, interviews, Netflix, and people donating him. He got what he wanted. He's famous. I don't know. I feel like this type of exposure is not good exposure, especially if it affects your family members and stuff. The lawyers are like, oh, she's going to give us some good tips about our closing statements, closing arguments. I already gave you guys tips for closing arguments, okay? Owens needs to not be all over the place. He needs to get to the point, be concise, not wave the dollar bill around. He said he was going to wave the dollar bill around. I'm like, bro, you don't need to do that. What am I eating? I'm too embarrassed to share. No, something not good. You go to Oprah like Harry and Meghan? I mean, if I was Terry, I would milk the most out of it. Do your press tour conferences, Do some interviews. Get paid for it. Pay back your legal fees. Why not? Harry French fried when he should have had pizza. What is that phrase? You never know, man. I feel like Netflix, they picking up docs on everything. They might do a doc about this. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, is it? To the ski episode. I love South Park. You guys watched the recent episode of South Park? I want dick and balls. I want dick and balls. Have you been skiing? I went skiing when I was a kid. I kind of want to try skiing now that we've been talking about all the ski stuff. I definitely would stay on the bunny slopes though. But I don't want to get injured. So if I go skiing, I feel like I'm going to have to be really picky about the conditions and the snow. It's got to be the nice powdery snow. Cause like last year we had a skiing snowboarding trip. Was it last year? Oh my God, it was last year. And no one went skiing because apparently it was just like ice. And I'm like, yeah, fuck that. I'm too old. I don't want to get injured.
Ready for the jury?
Oh. Yes. One expert made a reference to pizza. Now I know why. Hey Joe, good morning. Thinking maybe we'll play some Resident Evil today. Because I think this is going to end early. I haven't streamed on Twitch in a bit, which is not good. No, this is closing arguments. The jury have not deliberated yet. Yeah, I don't know why Terry mentioned the island thing. That was really weird. Train wrecks is part of Kicks, right? There's like Cozy TV, there's Kicks, and what's the other one? There's like another one. Alex Jones is on like Cozy or something, right? Or something. He started Kicks? Yeah, he seems like a cool guy.
Okay, you should have on your chair a document, 3 pages, called Special Verdict Form. I'm going to go through that right now. Members of the jury, please answer the following questions in the order that they are presented. If you find that the issue has been proved by a preponderance of the evidence, answer yes. If not, no. At least 6 jurors must agree on the answer to all of the required questions, but they need not be the same 6 on each question. When 6 or more of you have agreed on the answer to each question that is required to be answered, your foreperson should sign and date the form and advise the bailiff that you have reached a verdict. Gwyneth Paltrow, question 1. Was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? Yes or no? If you answer yes, go to question 2. If you answer no, go to question 3 below. Question number 2, was Gwyneth Paltrow's fault a cause of Terry Sanderson's harm? Yes or no? Regardless of your answer, go to question 3. Terry Sanderson, question 3. Was Terry Sanderson at fault? If you answer yes or no. If you answer yes, go to question 4. If you answer no, go to question 5 below. 4, was Terry Sanderson's fault a cause of Gwyneth Paltrow's harm? Yes or no? Regardless of your answer, go to number 5 below. Number 5, if your answers to question 1 and 3 are both no, you should not proceed further except to date and sign this verdict form and return it to the courtroom. Otherwise, continue to question 6.
Verdict, we don't know.
Comparative fault.
I think so.
Question 6, Gwyneth Paltrow. What percentage of the fault do you assign to Gwyneth Paltrow? If your answer to either questions 1 or 2 is no, then enter 0%. And there's a blank and a place for you to put your number in. Proceed to question 7. Question 7, Terry Sanderson. What percentage of the fault do you assign to Terry Sanderson? And there's a blank and a place for you to put your percentage in. If your answer to either questions 3 or 4 is no, then enter 0. The total must equal 100%. If Terry Sanderson's fault is less than 50%, answer question 8. Do not deduct from the damages any percentage of fault that you have assessed to Terry Sanderson. The judge will make any necessary deductions later. If Terry Sanderson's fault is 50% or more, do not answer question 8 and proceed to question 9. Damages Terry Sanderson, question 8. What amount fairly compensates Terry Sanderson for non-economic damages, $blank. Damages Gwyneth Paltrow, number 9. What amount fairly compensates Gwyneth Paltrow for economic damages? This cannot exceed $1, $blank. When 6 or more of you have agreed on the answer to each question
Yep,
that is
only need
required to
6.
be answered, your foreperson should sign and date the form and advise the bailiff that you have reached a verdict. So we'll now hear from the lawyers with their closing arguments. Plaintiff will go first.
All right. I hope you're not reading. You got your script today? I mean, it's okay to have a little script, but oh, it's this guy. Okay. I think he'll do better in closing. Well, actually, no. He likes to yell at the jury and point, so it feels like he's reprimanding them. They should have gotten Kristen to do it.
Hello, hello?
Sounds good. Can you actually do it again?
Hello, hello?
Yes.
All right. I think this is Bob, country lawyer Bob.
Jury, thank you for your attentiveness during these 2 weeks. It's been a hard, long case. I've tried a lot of cases in my lifetime. This has been a hard, long case. By the way, it's about an hour each way going to Salt Lake with traffic, so that adds to it. But you've been very attentive. I've seen you taking notes and paying attention. No one nodded off. So thank you again. Now, I'll turn on my...
See Terry in the back there?
Split this.
Oh, they're going to split it. Ooh.
No.
Which lawyer do you think he's going to split it with? Kristen?
By the way, I apologize for my cold.
Okay.
You can't really choose when those come. I've got asthma, and it makes it worse.
Oh.
But I've done everything I can to try to resolve it. Took all the tests. I'm negative for COVID, etc., but it still has plagued me. So I apologize for the coughing.
Okay,
Maybe a little bit more of that.
The captions are so off.
Okay. There are really 3 issues in the case. Number 1, who hit whom? Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 2, did it cause any damage? Number 3, what are the damages? What are the damages? Now, Gwyneth Paltrow, in this case, is not a liar. Terry Sanderson is not a liar. Okay? Gwyneth is a good person. Okay?
Okay.
She's a good mother,
Okay.
and she loves her children, and she's passionate about many things. Now, we don't usually say good things about other people in our closing, but I think that's an accurate statement.
Did Kristen write this?
I think that she believes, and I believe Gwyneth Paltrow when she says she believes. She
Okay.
said, Terry hit me in the back. And she believes it. It's a sincere belief. She's not a liar because of it. Pardon me. But the problem is, a sincere belief doesn't make it so.
Okay. Oh, give him a Ricola, poor guy.
Some of you are skiers and some of you aren't. Okay.
Why didn't someone else do the closing? I feel so bad for him.
Pardon me. When you're involved in a ski crash, it can be very confusing. I don't care who hit whom. You know, it can be very confusing. So I think she sincerely believes that she got hit in the back. The problem is,
Poor Bob.
you have to make a decision based on the evidence that you've heard here. Okay, on the evidence. Now, let me tell you, to illustrate this, about something that happened to me about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
We live in downtown Salt Lake, and we use that Costco, or shop at that Costco, on 17 South and 3rd West. Some of you have probably been there. It's the largest one in the world. Okay.
We are having a hard time hearing us.
Yeah, Mr. Sykes, where's the microphone for that? Is it on your chest?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not.
Yeah, turn up a little bit.
I'm picking it up, but it is just so faint.
This is how they're getting their lawyer fees. Mention Costco.
No one else.
Let's talk about Popeyes.
Maybe put it higher on your.
Oh, I feel bad. I think they should have gotten someone to do the closing argument. This poor guy's like struggling a bit. He's coughing. He's sick. This Costco story better be good.
Oh, here. Hand it to me. Is it on?
Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to expect any better from Owens. What is Gwen wearing? Is that velour?
I just got gas at Costco. It was about July of 2022.
Should I turn him a bit?
No, 2021. And I was at that intersection. It's a pretty busy intersection. There are 2 lanes, north and south, 2 lanes, east and west, 2 each. And there's a left-hand turn lane. I had a red light. Okay. And I was the first one at the intersection. I had a good look at it. I looked in my rear view mirror on my left side, and there's a green arrow for each direction going east and west, turning south and turning north. You understand that? So I'm waiting because I have a red light. And there's a lady across the way from me, car heading west but turning south. She had a green arrow, like I saw one her heading north. I look in my mirror, and here comes a guy at about 40, 45 miles an hour on the inside lane of 17 South. I said, my goodness, he's going to hit that woman. He's making that turn. And sure enough, smacked her and smacked her hard. Okay? Didn't slow down at all. Well, I had a good view of it, and the car spun around, but I was able to get by. There's a Maverick on the southeast corner of the intersection. Okay? I pulled in there, ran to her car, and asked her, are you okay? Like everybody does. She said, yeah, I think so. I didn't think she was, looking at her. But she said she was okay. Okay?
Okay.
So I ran over to the other guy. I was the first one there. Some people were beginning to stop. And the guy that ran the red light said, are you okay? He said, yeah, I think so. I said, well, why'd you run the red light? You know what his answer was? I didn't. It was green. Well, I wasn't going to sit there and argue with a guy like that, under those circumstances. But he said it was green. So when the police came a couple minutes later, and you got to be careful as an attorney, I gave them my card, not to get the case. You know, you can't do that, unethical, but let people know who I was so they could call me. Get a cop a card, and I gave each of the persons a card.
Okay.
And about several months later, I started getting calls from insurance adjusters wanting me to tell them what happened. And I tell you that story because so often people that are in these types of events have a totally different viewpoint. So we don't hold anything against Gwyneth for her viewpoint. It's sincerely expressed, but she's wrong based on the evidence. Okay? And Terry's correct. Now, what's the evidence that Gwyneth hit Terry? Okay. Number one, and there's no particular order on this, but Terry's a strong skier, advanced intermediate. Mr. Christensen said he saw him going down the hill doing wide radius turns. That's side to side, all the way, back and forth. Now, on a beginner's run, that's highly unlikely for an advanced skier. You don't do that. You don't do that. There's too many people. And so that doesn't make sense. Number two, I'll call it the scream heard around the world. Okay? This is being broadcast everywhere, by the way. It's on Court TV.
And lawn crime.
Getting emails every day from Canada, Great Britain.
Okay.
There's a loud scream. Terry heard it. Loud scream. Craig Ramone heard it and looked over. Several other people heard it. Carrie Oakes said she heard it. Peter Christensen heard it, so caused him to look over. It's before the impact. And you don't, if you're the downhill skier, like Gwyneth claims she was,
Irene.
you don't scream at something you can't see. You don't. It's the uphill skier that's going to make that scream. And that was Gwyneth Paltrow. Distraction. Everybody here probably been a parent. Most of you not, some of you maybe. But I've had my kids up there, and they want me to watch them ski. And mommy wants to ski. Now, Carrie Oakes said that, and that the deposition segment that you read said that 3 times. Okay? 3 times. And that's important. Can we show Gwyneth's deposition up here?
Okay, for real, they should have got Kristen to do it. She's the best public speaker in that group.
Your Honor, what are we talking about here?
Besides, is this deposition testimony that
I'm
was
confused too,
read in
Owens.
court?
Yes. Exactly.
And is it only deposition testimony? that was
Yeah.
read? Okay.
Deposition, meaning trial testimony?
Well, it was read in the court.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Poor Bob. He's sick. Oh, poor Bob. He didn't get good sleep. Probably didn't get good sleep last night, too. Okay, so when we hire, for anyone's future reference, okay, if you ever get in a lawsuit, get a lawyer who is, of course, good at their job, but make sure you get a lawyer who can do public speaking very well. Who knows how to connect with the jury. And then when you hire experts, I don't know, man, really make sure that expert can show up for you in person. Hiring a paid expert and then having them not show up and do a Zoom call. Oh, no, 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 no. And hire an expert that's cool, calm, and collected during cross-examination. I wonder, how do you interview people to make sure that they're going to do well when you hire them? Young. I like Wayne Dennison. Wayne Dennison ain't young. Ben Chu ain't young.
You could make the screen only show the part that was actually
Trying to
read
do
in
that.
court.
Is that okay, Judge, like that?
That looks good.
Okay. Now, Ms. Paltrow, isn't it true? Isn't it true? I'm just a country lawyer here. Okay? Isn't it
Really?
true?
You can play this? Huh.
Let's see if I can move it over a little bit. Okay? That your kids wanted to watch you ski. Or, pardon me, that the kids wanted you to watch them ski. Isn't that true? Vegas at the time. I can still watch my children ski and be skied directly into my back by someone. Okay? Which is what happened. Now I'm going to omit Mr. Owen's statement and my own, and here's how it reads. Isn't it true that your kids wanted to watch you ski? Or, pardon me, that the kids wanted you to watch them ski. I can still watch my children ski and be skied directly into my back by someone, which is what happened.
Okay.
Now,
Oh, you know, Kristen. I think Kristen's like, why am I up here with these dudes?
There's an eyewitness, and Craig Ramone. We thought about having him testify again today about those drawings, but we decided not to do it. But he saw the whole thing. He saw the impact, and he's the only one that saw it. That's a key piece of evidence. Now, who is Craig Ramone? He's an acquaintance of Terry. He's part of a meetup group. He's not close to Terry. They went to get garlic burgers twice, okay? He has no dog in the fight, ladies and gentlemen, no dog in the fight. He's independently wealthy. You can tell that by what he does.
Your Honor, that's assumes facts not in evidence.
Well, it's...
Just a minute. Objection overruled. The jury will have to recall what the evidence was. And
The evidence was he sold his business, I don't know, 10 years ago, and all he does now is ski and travel and scuba dive. Okay? He has no reason, no motive to falsify this. Okay? Confirmation, those meetup emails that you saw. There was one of the last evidence, I think it was 44, was it? I won't go over it with you. But we printed that out, I think, Saturday or Monday. It gives you the number of days since it was entered. And you add those up, you go right back to February 26, 27, 28, around there. Strong evidence. Terry has repeatedly said to his medical providers that he was hit in the back over a period of years. And that he has problems, medical problems from it. The broken ribs, that's one of the strongest pieces of evidence you have.
Okay.
That Terry was the guy that was hit. He was the downhill skier, okay? 4 broken ribs, 2 of them separated like that.
Ooh.
Weren't together. And that's very serious, it's very painful. But the pattern of those broken ribs, 2 MDs, one from Utah and Dr. Bain. So that pattern of broken ribs supports the fact that he was hit from behind. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details of that. That's what he said.
You got to go into the details.
And Dr. Bain, who just testified again today, said that Dr. Schur was simply wrong in his philosophy.
Ooh, cold, sorry.
His formula. He assumed it was a free fall, and it wasn't a free fall. Broken ribs. How do you get that without a significant impact? Now, the flaky Deer Valley investigation, I think, suggests a cover-up. Eric Christensen, I think, was unbelievable and inconsistent.
Was he?
There were a number of things. I'm not going to go over each one of them.
You have to.
I will talk about one. The claim that Terry said he was okay. Now, some of you have probably had broken ribs or loved ones that have had them, you know. Even Steve Graff up here said it's extremely painful. Mm-hmm. Now, this whole process took place between 11:55, which is the time of Graff's incident report, and 12:02, when Ramon flagged down the ski patrol, and 12:04 when Whitney Smith arrived. So we're talking about 7 to 9 minutes, okay? And they would have you believe that a man with 4 broken ribs, 4, 2 separated, told not only Eric Christensen that he was okay, but 2 other unnamed, unidentified ski patrollers that never logged it in. He told them he was okay.
Go ahead, Bob.
Now, that's just unbelievable that that would happen to a person with 4 broken ribs. Not just 1, but 4. Ski between the legs. I don't know how many of you are skiers. I don't remember. You said it in your interviews 3 weeks ago, but to have someone ski between your legs, she thought it was a sexual assault.
Oh, no, don't bring that up again, please.
Okay? But to have someone with both skis, to someone that's moving and shooshing back and forth, It's just another unbelievable claim. That can't happen. Now, and then Gwyneth skis away to lunch.
Yeah, this is a
only
different
way
guy, not the same guy who did the opening
Terry
statement.
Sanderson knew that this is Gwyneth Paltrow.
I think.
Christensen got angry and said, "Your buddy just took out Gwyneth Paltrow," which is an odd comment to make. Like, just took out a person, you know, but he had to put in Gwyneth Paltrow. That's the only way we know that. That's why you're here. Now, causation. This event caused an injury. Well,
A what?
I've already mentioned this. The impact was significant enough to break 4 ribs. You know, the impact in the fall. That is a significant impact. The location, the right front, is where you would expect it under the circumstances. Loss of consciousness. You know, it was only a few minutes, maybe 2, maybe 3.
Who's the guy in the back with the
There
headphones?
was a loss of consciousness widely reported in the medical records, and that day, widely reported. I mentioned the OK. I don't want to mention that again. So, it was significant enough at the time. The very first thing that anybody noticed was that Terry forgot how to ski. He was snow plowing down the hill, an advanced intermediate snow plowing down the hill. Mm-hmm. Think about that for a minute, you know? And Craig Ramon says, "Hey, Terry, you forgot how to ski." And that's when Craig Ramon said, "I got to flag someone down." So he did, and he told that person, he's got a head injury. That's the words he used, a head injury. Now, it took him 5 seconds, and Craig acted it out up here, 5 seconds to be able to tell him his name. He didn't know where he was at first. That's a significant impact. That's a concussion.
Were there
Now,
photos of the injury? We just got x-rays and brain scans.
Ski patrol flagged down at 12:02. Whitney Smith arrives. What a sweet person. And Terry's taken off the hill in a toboggan. Now, you know, that's no fun, but it shows you something happened. She rides disoriented, rib pain, loss of consciousness. By the way, Alina Fong, who treats thousands and thousands and thousands of TBI victims, said loss of consciousness is not required. Okay? Not required.
Okay.
Headache.
A little disorganized.
That day, I think at the clinic in Park City, dullness in the front of the head. And Whitney Smith said, "Go to the ER." And Dr. McMahon said, "Go to the ER." So the next several months, you have numerous symptoms of TBI that show up in the VA records. Cognitive, personality, social, and emotional. I could go through and show them to you, but you all saw them. But then,
He needs to stop saying that. Oh, but I don't need to go through it. You guys already know. Oh, I don't need to go through it. Like, stop saying that.
one of the most significant pieces of evidence here is a sudden and precipitous change in Terry Sanderson. Sudden and precipitous, okay? Now, I'm not talking about when he came home and Carlene, you know, said he didn't want to be touched. He's got 4 broken ribs. But Carlene, who loved him, said it was a love relationship. She wanted to marry him. They had been together 300 days a year up here and then down there in St. George for about a year and a half. It's a long time to look at someone. She loved him. She traveled with him. She wanted to marry him. And you saw how she choked up when she explained how the relationship ended, that he changed. His personality changed. Polly Gresham, Shay Hareth,
The daughters.
same thing. Big changes. They didn't see him as often. So that sudden and precipitous change is a sign of brain injury. Diagnosis of concussion. The VA diagnosed it. Multiple physicians diagnosed it. All the defense experts admitted it. Every one of them admitted it. They minimized the extent of it, but they all admitted he had a concussion. Every one of them. Every one of them. Dr. Gibby, Dr. Fong, Dr. Goldstein, Dr. Bing. The only question was severity and permanency. But every one of them, they didn't want to admit it, but they gave different numbers between 5 and 20%.
Oh, the audio is better.
People that get a concussion, it's permanent. They have permanent problems. 5 and 20% between that. Dr. Fong thinks it's higher than that even. Now, the physics. Dr. Boehm explained the physics, I think, second day of trial, and a little bit today. But he's a neurologist, but he's also a biomedical engineer. That's different.
Biomedical. I said biomechanical.
He's a biomechanical engineer. But Dr. Boehm specializes in how force affects the body.
Oh, okay.
Very highly respected in that field. And it's very rare, not very many of them. Terry talked about the loss of friendships. Mark Harath, good example. They were
The son-in-law brother?
And they didn't like him anymore. He talked about excuse me, the woman that he was going to Europe with. Don't remember her name, you remember it, but she changed her mind at the last minute and had an empty
Robin?
seat. That's how Jenny got to go. The experience of his granddaughter carried into her for how to tie a knot. Big changes. Craig Ramon said Terry, after the accident, seemed like he could talk to the wall for an hour and have a good conversation. Faking. Every witness you heard from the defense, admitted that Terry was not faking, malingering, exaggerating, or magnifying his symptoms. And Dr. Goldstein said there are tests embedded in his tests to find that. No evidence of that at all.
I'm a little bit confused. Did he not practice this closing in front of the other lawyers so they can give feedback to him? Some parts you can tell which one is like well rehearsed when he starts getting really loud and confident, and some parts he kind of just like jumbles through.
By the way, the VA records continue up until the present day, and they didn't show you any single VA record where that was ever suggested of this man.
I don't remember her name.
NPH. They suggested, that could just the normative. What is it called again? Normal pressure hydrocephalus. He's got it, but no symptoms. And it didn't change over about a 13-year period. 2009 to 2021.
Focus.
Dementia. They kind of implied that maybe he's got that, but when we cornered them on cross-examination, not a one of them said he had dementia. And there's no reference in these thousands of pages of records that he diagnoses.
Oh, dementia?
Degradation of imaging, okay? We have imaging, I think, from 2009 to 2021, and all the defense experts, plus our own, said there's no degradation on these imaging. He's got white matter abnormalities, probably half of us do. Nothing showed in there. No problems. No increase. You heard that just as recently as yesterday. Now,
so no dementia, no
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
Things here. In terms of time over to my colleague Lawrence Bueller. This is actually his case. He asked me to help. That day when Terry left his home to go skiing in the Deer Valley, that meetup group, February 26, 2016, he anticipated, like many, many other days in his life, a fun day of skiing. Okay? And he never returned home that night as the same Terry. He never came home, figuratively speaking. Terry's tried to get off that mountain, but he's really still there. Part of Terry will forever be on the bandana run, figuratively. People who are just after money, and that was suggested. He's just after money and fame, somehow going through all of this and spending all the money he spent on experts. You know, he's doing it for fame. Give me a break. But he
Okay.
spent hours and hours trying to get better. If you heard anything about him, he is almost, what's a good word? Extreme in trying to get better. He does everything he can to get better. Anyway, we hope that you will help bring Terry home off that mountain with a fair verdict today. Now, before I turn it over to Lawrence, I want to say one more thing about executive function. Okay?
The lawyer in the back one's
Experience
pissed.
up here that taught me about that. 40 years ago, I was in the legislature with a guy named Glenn Brown. I think he's still alive. He's in Colville, has a dairy farm, or did. And I used to kid him about milking cows, you know. So he invited me up to his farm. Young lawyer, going to show me how to milk cows. Never done it. Got up there, and he showed me around his barn. It was really sophisticated. 40 years ago. I mean, it's probably better now. But when you think about why Terry never came home, think about this story and executive function. Because he put a little stool out there for me, and I sat down in my jeans and tried to milk a cow by hand. It's very hard to do for a country boy like me. They grew up in the city. But
A camel?
able
I heard they're stinky.
to squeeze out a little bit of milk, you know. He gave me some, take home. Glenn Brown's a great guy.
Okay.
But I asked him about this situation. I said, how do you do all this? He showed me this very sophisticated situation that milks cows automatically. Just automatically.
Okay.
He says, without this, Bob, I could never make it. Couldn't do it. Can't get enough people to come help me do it by hand, like my grandpa did. That's executive function. That's what it does for us. We're able to do a lot of things in life. And
Okay.
that milking mechanism was
Terry.
executive function for Glenn Brown's farm. That's executive function. That's what it does for us. We're able to do
Sorry, I wanted to remind
a
everyone, but
lot
look at
of
this.
things in life. And that milking mechanism
Terry. Do we have a zoom in for this? Oh, I don't have the zoom in, but look at Terry right here. Terry's like, what is going on? And this lawyer's like, oh my God. Kristen's bored.
was executive function
Sorry.
for Glenn Brown's farm to produce milk.
I'm speeding it up.
This is one of Terry's saddest problems, his loss of executive function.
Yep.
He cannot organize and manipulate his life to do things like he used to do. It's the saddest thing. And that's why part of him is still up there on that mountain. Thank you. Lawrence?
Oh, Lawrence. Lawrence. We hope you do better, Lawrence. Come on up, Lawrence.
Sit down.
All right, let's give a round of applause for Bob. He's sick. He's trying. He's got some anecdotes. Costco, Moo Moo Cows. All right, Bob. A for effort, I guess. Lawrence, come and save us up here. All right, we're caught up with the live now. Yeah, I feel like he shouldn't have used the word manipulated. I know, Lawrence is like, okay. Oh, I think Lawrence is a script reader, though.
Still good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Lawrence.
Mr. Dealer, I don't know if we're picking you up yet.
Okay. Can I try this? See if it works on me? Sure.
Oh, this is Bueller. Lawrence Bueller.
Testing, testing.
Yes, I can hear it. It's still
Oh, wait.
faint.
I have it up. Testing, testing.
I'm actually just hearing it from you right there.
Testing, testing.
No. Can you try the other mic by chance? Let's change the batteries.
Oh, is that Shanley Painter in the back? Or is that, I don't know if that's her. It kind of looks like her, though, but not her style. Is that Shanley Painter? Has his team had any cases? I know Camille Vasquez is going to represent. I don't remember her name. She's going to represent a woman who is an actress. Is she a singer too? That's all I know about Camille Vasquez. She's going to represent someone, and it's like over a insurance fraud accusation or something.
This case is
Oh,
simple.
Chanley's an SC. Oh, okay, just kidding.
You've heard the first two parts of this. Who hit whom? And what are the damage that were caused to Terry? And then the next question is, how much are those damages? And that's the part of the case I'll deal with.
Okay.
This case is about answering the simple questions the law asks us to put on the form that we call the verdict form, which you'll get in a few minutes, or maybe this afternoon. Verdict. That's an interesting word. It comes from Latin.
No,
It's
not
actually
English
two
lesson
words.
or Latin lessons.
Verus, truth, or dicta, or to tell, or told. So combined, it means truth told. And that's what you're here for, is the truth told.
Okay.
So what does the law want us to tell the truth about? Well, let's look at what the verdict form says.
I'll take Roddenborn. I thought Roddenborn was an okay lawyer. I thought he was a good lawyer. Not okay lawyer, good lawyer. He just was, compared to Johnny Depp, he was not charming at all, though.
The first question is, was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? As my colleague Bob Sykes said, the evidence is clear. There were 4 broken ribs, an eyewitness. There's lots of other evidence, too, circumstantial evidence, that Ms. Paltrow hit Terry Sanderson on February 26, 2016. The stories have been consistent for 7 years. So the first question, we answer yes.
Okay. Oh, this guy didn't practice at all, did he?
Now, earlier, it was in jury instruction number 27, the judge defined what negligence is. And judges around the country have a hard time defining what it is. It's very abstract.
Okay.
Very abstract. And what it means, basically, is they knew it was dangerous to ski while distracted. They knew that someone could get hurt if they continue to do that. And they did it anyway.
Yeah, I think he did the opening for Terry. Oh no, Lawrence.
Did they know the damage would be this serious? Well, we've all heard about collisions. Collisions happen on the football field. Collisions happen even on sidewalks sometimes. People get concussions. And Terry, there's no doubt, suffered a concussion. But Terry's damage is not just a concussion that goes away in a few minutes or a few days or a couple weeks. We know that Terry's damages, or his concussion, persisted for more than a year and a half.
That's
and
true.
Been verified by Dr. Fong,
Get ChatGPT in
Dr.
here.
Gibby, Dr. Goldstein, and Dr. Bain. Even the defense's experts admit that he had a concussion. They quibble on how long it's lasted. But none of those defense witnesses actually examined Terry. And as Bob pointed out, none of them really acknowledged that Terry had problems. One of them refused to acknowledge the before and after witnesses. His 2 daughters, actually 3, but 2 daughters that testified in this trial, Shay and Polly, his friend Mark Harath,
Bless you.
Finally, or the first witness after Craig Ramon was Carlene Davidson, his ex-girlfriend. They'd known each other for 18 months before the crash, 6 months after the crash. She testified that the damage continued, thus making it a permanent, this is a tongue twister, persistent concussive symptom. And that permanent persistent concussive syndrome is the long-term brain damage that we're talking about. So what it means is every waking hour that Terry has, he's got this brain injury that causes so many problems for him, from executive function,
New poll.
being able to deal with people. And as those witnesses showed, Terry has a problem. He looks fine. It's an invisible injury. People know, that's what they say about brain injury. It's an invisible injury. You see someone with a brain injury and they look fine. What's wrong with them? If he has a brain injury, why isn't he in bed and moping around and not doing anything? Well, that's the opposite of Terry. Mm-hmm. The crash took much of what he had and left it on the mountain. Terry still has that drive to get better. And even though persistent concussive symptoms are permanent, they last a lifetime. They last forever. So 16 hours a day, Terry is dealing with this injury, such that, as Bob mentioned, when people get to know him, after a while, they don't want to deal with him anymore. I'm sorry I have to say this, but I've known Terry now 6 years.
Wait, what about you?
Argument, but it's real.
Lauren should say, shit, even I don't want to deal with him anymore.
Now, the 4 broken ribs, those were painful for maybe 3 months or so. But the brain injury has persisted to this day and will last until he dies. The executive function, the social abilities, the mental problems, driving to the store, not knowing where you are and having to use GPS just to get home. These are real injuries that Harry, who was a very bright person, you would not know it just talking to him for 10 minutes. But once you get to know him better, you realize he's got these problems that just change everything. So as I talked to someone left me a message, and every time I hear this voice message, it just makes me cry.
Aww.
Just because it's so just kind of flat, but he says...
He's going to have to read this in a very emotional tone, not monotone. It made me sad.
This person suffered a similar injury 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
A persistent concussive syndrome or injury, permanent brain injury. And she said, it's permanent. Your personality change is permanent. And you lose everybody who knows you. You lose everybody. Yeah, your family, they'll put up with you, and maybe the lawyers, but really they're just putting up with you.
Was this person a client or just a random person that left a voice message?
So let's go to the next question. Well, I'm going to go through, because this is a complicated case, Ms. Paltrow is suing for $1.
Look at Gwen. She ain't even looking.
Next questions. Was Terry Sanderson at fault? Terry was hit from behind. Craig Ramon saw it. The rib injuries show it. Now, Dr. Scher, for the defense, who's not a medical doctor, he's a mechanical engineer, deals with ski bindings mostly. He says that Terry Sanderson likely skirted under Gwyneth Paltrow and somehow twisted around and broke his ribs.
Oh my God, mic drop, that's funny.
And as Dr. Bain confirmed again today, that's impossible. It defies the law of physics. So I think you have to answer no. I mean, it's a clear no. Was Terry Sanderson at fault? Number 3, no. So then you skip to go to 5 below. And since 1 is yes, this is like a puzzle.
No, it's funny, mark it. Mark it.
Here, I got a pen.
Mark it for the jury.
I got one. So was Terry Sanderson at fault? I'll go back to the first page. Was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? Yes.
Hey, jury, this is how you fill out the form, okay?
Forgot to do number 2, and you have to go in order. Was Miss Paltrow's fault the cause of Terry Sanderson's harm? It clearly is. Terry Sanderson was hit from behind. There was a scream, and he was hit from behind. So the answer is yes. So then we go to 3. And because we answer number...
Hello? Gwen looks pissed. What in chat if you can see me? I'm live, right? Yeah, I'm live. Okay.
0.
Oh, we're back. Look at Gwen.
And to be honest with you, this is the first time I've seen the form because it was just finalized just before we started the... So I have to think about this one a little bit, but let's think about it together. What percent of fault do you assign to Gwyneth Paltrow? If your answer to either 1 or 2 is no, then enter 0. Well, both are yes. So we have to... Because Terry Sanderson did not cause this crash. You can't cause a crash when you're hit from behind. What percent of fault do you assign to Terry Sanderson? Well, it has to add up to 100, so you have to put in 0 there.
Gwen in the background.
If Terry Sanderson's fault is less
She's chewing that gum so hard, I'm half expecting her to blow a bubble.
than 50%, answer question 8. Well, it is, so we skipped 8. What amount fairly compensates Terry Sanderson for non-economic damages? Non-economic damages. Our time on Earth is the most valuable time we have, that we know of, at least in this existence. Our time on Earth is one of the most valuable things there are. There are paintings on a wall that are worth $50, $100 million. There are houses in these mountainsides that are worth 5, 10, 20, much more millions of dollars. There's even racehorses that are worth tens of millions of dollars. Well, Terry's none of those.
Okay.
Terry's in the last days of his life.
Oh, reminding him.
He probably has at least 10 years left.
Oh my God.
What a lot of people think. He guards his health. He doesn't smoke. He's trying to pursue a healthy lifestyle every single day. Yeah, he goes to the doctor, but since the crash, it's been 7 years, and let's say another 10 years. Every single day, he's got 16 hours of dealing with this brain injury, this persistent concussive symptom that causes all these problems.
No, man, the way these lawyers are talking about Terry,
So
they might be
how do
giving
we
him
calculate
PTSD.
that? As the instruction says, for non-economic damages, jury instruction 35, which you all have, it gives a detailed instruction about that. Pain, suffering, loss of enjoyment of life, and a retired person, well-to-do person like Terry, who worked all his life, these are the golden years. These are the most valuable years when you can enjoy your retirement and actually do things like travel. But now he has to travel with other people or he gets lost. Dr. Fong and his other therapists, most of his therapists have said, what's the best way to deal with your brain injury? Well, do the things that make you happy. Be active. He could sit around and mope around and be an obvious brain injury victim, but no, Terry doesn't want to be brain injured.
I don't know, man. Terry might run for president. That's the president age right there.
He wants to live life to its fullest. So 16 hours a day, he's got this issue that where a big part of him was left up on that bandana ski run.
Terry's like, can I do my own closing, please? I'll take over, Lawrence. I got this. Bob, you good? Okay, what do we have here? We play Hangman?
So you have the power here. This is, before we were
You've
just
got the power.
arguing and presenting evidence, and the judge was ruling on it. But now the judge is going to pass the case to you. And this is where you decide what happens next. So I'm going to suggest, I'm not going to ask, this is not a, Terry asked me several years ago when I first learned of his case, well, what do you think it's worth? I said, well, Terry, could you, if you could turn the earth backwards like Superman, go back in time, and how much would Terry take to not have what he has now? And he says, I'd rather go back in time and never have this. So how do we calculate this?
What?
Well, I'm going to suggest a number. This is just a suggestion that we do it with 16 hours a day. About the formulas, Dr. Bain and Dr. Scher give you a lot of formulas, but hopefully these will be more simpler than all those. So that's 16 hours a day.
Okay.
Times 365 days a year.
Oh, God, times 10 years that he's going to live? What is this calculation?
Then the next question is the years. Well, it's been 7 years since the crash.
Oh, okay. 7 years. Whew, I thought we were talking about when he's going to die.
Terry's likely to live another 10 years.
Okay, never mind. We do bring it back.
We hope longer, much longer. He wants to live at 130. But, at least 10 years. So 7 years since the crash, 10 years, that's 17 years. So we're going to times the next number, 17. Then the question is, how much is, not the price, there's no price that you can give for Terry's time, but what is the value that's been taken away from Terry? What is the value? I mean, they're lawyers and they're experts, and
Oh, God, how much money? How much money are you putting on there?
are making low wages, but a lot of people are making $300, $400, $500 an hour. Well, I'm just suggesting a number, and you can put in whatever number you want. This is for the non-economic damages that Terry deals with every day. So that's the next number. 16 times 365 times 17. I'm going to suggest a number. You put in the number you think is fair for Terry. The full value of the harms and losses that he's dealing with every day. I'm going to say $33. $33. And I've done the math because I told you in the opening. Except for the small change at the end, a couple $100. This equation.
Get a math lesson. $3 million. They're trying to ask for $3 million. Okay, so they can ask for $3 million.
Is $3,276,000 for the 17 years that Terry has to deal with this permanent brain injury. Yeah, you could say, well,
Right.
It's priceless, but an old shoe that's priceless. No, this is the most valuable time of his life, and so that's the amount that I suggest you consider. So what is this case not about? It's not about celebrity. It's not about that. Yeah, there are lots of indications of that, but this is about a man's life. What does the defense want to make this case about? They want to make it about Terry's
Terry should take the money and hire Eric Christensen as a ski instructor.
multiple issues. The 69-year-old Terry that was on that hill, oh yeah, he had all sorts of medical problems, but the defense wants to make it about that. But that didn't mean, I mean, he was skiing on that hill at Deer Valley. I can't think of any place that I'd rather be skiing than Deer Valley. Maybe
Colorado?
Backcountry Powder, but the point is he was healthy enough to ski, and now he doesn't ski.
Her Tahoe's pretty nice.
Now I'm going to tell you a quick story about the legend of King Morgan.
Oh, God,
King
no.
Morgan was the real king back in England about 1,000 years ago. Back then, the kings were the law. Someone had a dispute, a farmer knocked an eye out of his neighbor. It was eye for an eye justice. They'd take the eye out of the guy who did it, and what did the victim get? Nothing.
He wants Gwen's eye.
Well, King Morgan one day said, you know what, I'm going to invite 12 of my nobles, the guys that have the littler castles, and I'm going to have them come in, and I'm going to have them listen to a case. And he heard the nobles heard the case, and then they said, well, we think it should be decided this way. And the king said, yeah, you're right, and that's good. So they did it a few more times, and finally the king said, you guys decide the cases. I'm going to go off and do what kings do and hunt and fish and fight battles. Well, that's the same system that was adopted in the Magna Carta almost 1,000 years or 800 years ago. And it's the same system that was brought over by the Pilgrims that we celebrate Thanksgiving for. And it's the same system in our country. And we're the only country that still has the jury system where people like you decide the cases. Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of England during World War II, he said, America is a great country. And one of the reasons it's so great is its jury system. And no other country has it. And if you want to weaken America, take away its jury system. Thank you.
We'll take a short recess before we continue, maybe about 15 minutes.
Oh, my goodness. This is rough. All right, I'm going to use the bathroom. I'm going to take my dishes down. We'll be right back. What is everyone's thoughts? If you haven't already, vote in the poll. Who's doing better for Terry's closing? First, lawyer Bob or Lawrence Bueller? .15 break. I was hoping they'd be finished before they do their 1 hour and a half long lunch break. Okay, I'll be right back. down. I don't have food for you. There's no food for you here. Oh, job interview. I can take some bone broth right now. I'm freaking cold. It's so cold. I'm so sad. Something, someone, some animal broke my flower off. This is the only thing that was in my garden that bloomed, and it broke off. It just like something, I think an animal like snapped it off or something. And look at how pretty it was. I'm so sad. Because this was the only stalk that the flower was growing. So now it's just back to being a stem. It's so sad. Who needs a job anyway? Just stick around. Core went on a 15-minute break. I will take some bone broth. I am so freaking cold. I got my heating pad here on my lap. Ooh, it is so cold. The sun's coming out though. Can't wait for it to be warmer. This is so weird. I'm not getting notifications. Did anyone in chat get notifications for my stream? I think sometimes YouTube, if they, I don't know what's flagging it. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the tags that I use, but my tags are actually really boring. It's just like Paltrow ski crash closing argument, defense closing argument, plaintiff closing argument. I don't know. Sometimes when YouTube doesn't like something about your stream, I feel like it doesn't really push it out to as much people, or the notifications don't work. I don't know. I usually can tell within the first couple seconds if something is like up. You got on your phone, on your laptop? You got the Discord one, not YouTube? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like YouTube's a little bit wonky. Okay, so we're waiting for them to come back. I'm going to be very honest with you. We're talking crap about the plaintiff's closing arguments. I honestly, I think Owens would do just a little bit better, but I don't think we're going to get anything fantastic out of Owens. I think he'll do just a little bit better. I honestly think they should have gotten Kristen to do the closing argument. I think she was the most well-spoken lawyer on the team. But it's also possible that when she did the cross-examination of Gwyneth Paltrow, she probably practiced a heck ton because she knew that would be one of the most important things. But I was looking at these attorneys. I think a lot of these attorneys aren't even working for the same law firm. Kristen's in one law firm. Lawrence, I don't know what law firm he's a part of. But Bob Sykes, he's got his own law firm going on. All right, so I have a copy of this. Well, while we're waiting here, let's just go back and listen to
Correct.
Dr. Boehm, I guess.
Sure. Well, Dr. Scherer first wrote up the impact force.
Oh, you didn't get the YouTube one either? Yeah, usually, I don't know. I don't know why it does that. Yeah. Wow, YouTube!
Formulas, and he labeled one of them wrong and one of them correct. And both of them are wrong. And why? First of all, the equation F equals 1/2 mv squared over d, where he substituted 1/2 at squared or 1/2 at and then at in the parentheses for velocity. You can't do that without solving for time or t first. Basically what you have from a mathematical standpoint, you have force and time, which you don't know. So you have two unknowns in one equation. So basically the equation is unsolvable. So you have to first solve for time. And
okay, this is when it gets a little bit. So earlier they did rebuttals. They did rebuttals earlier, and it was pretty rough. Tech issues. He had to call it instead.
When you work backwards, the mass required to do that indicates that the object that fell on Mr. Sanderson had to weigh at least 100 pounds. So, based on what I know about this case, any human that weighs greater than 100 pounds falling on Mr.
Oh, this poor guy over here.
Sanderson onto...
Oh, Craig Ramon is there. Oh, what's up, Craig? Hey, he came back.
right side fracturing of those ribs would qualify as a traumatic event from an impact force calculation standpoint. Now, so once you understand that,
I have no idea, Sherry. I don't think I see the family members. I don't think they're here.
then you start to consider other possible scenarios as to, is there any other way he could have fractured those ribs? The only other way he could have, if you consider him striking Miss Paltrow from behind, is that if he were to do that, he would have to generate a rotational force on him and Miss Paltrow, resulting in him falling on the ground and Miss Paltrow falling on top of him. Okay? Now, keep in mind, as I already calculated, you look up there, it took less than half a second to fall to the ground. And so for him to ski into Miss Paltrow and then rotate 100.
So yeah, this was basically the rebuttal. They only had one rebuttal witness, and I don't think it really did too much. It's kind of hard to listen to someone talking about equations when they're over the phone. So yeah. Damning testimony. Oh, you know, there was something I did want to watch with everyone. Something popped up my feed. Oh, Judge Newman. Oh, we could have watched this during break. Oh, we have to be back in 3 minutes though. Judge Newman does an interview and he talks a little bit about the Murdaugh trial. So I popped up my feed and I wanted to watch it with everyone. Craig is there to support his sort of friend. I've heard better lectures in high school history class. There was no passion. Oh man, the teachers that were bad lecturers were the ones that, you know, most of the students not getting good grades in their class. But for the teachers that were able to teach in a very fun, engaging, interesting way, those are the best teachers. But, you know, I get it. It's hard to do public speaking. It's hard to be a lecturer. It's hard to keep your audience engaged. But I don't know. I feel like the lawyers, because they do so much public speaking, I feel like they would have done so well in opening and closing because you're always talking. But maybe it's hard to have like a full speech uninterrupted for 30, 45 plus minutes, right? I don't know. You just got to practice in front of a mirror. Get invited to weddings. Get invited to weddings and then, you know, be the speaker. Do a toast. Practice that way. Or be a streamer, I guess. Like, I'm just kidding. Being a streamer does not mean you're going to be a good public speaker. Oh, man, I'm so cold. Ooh, it's so cold here. Oh, also, if you're new here, don't forget to join the Discord if you want. I have a Discord. It's an area for all of our community members. You get notifications on there. Hi, Taxi. Did you miss anything? Just some bad closing arguments. They were pretty rough to listen to. We had closing arguments done by Terry Sanderson's lawyers. Bob Sykes, the country lawyer, went first. His was very interesting. He's still sick, poor guy. Second guy who went up there, we thought he was going to do better, Lawrence Bueller, but I think his was pretty boring. He was basically just trying to show the jury how to fill out the jury form. Is Gwen at fault? Yes. 100% at fault. Who should get money? Terry. He made some equations. He said Terry's only going to live 10 years. Tops. And yeah. Gwen's lawyers are going next. And I think most of us agreed that Terry should have done his own closing arguments. Terry and Kristen. And then we're going to go over to Gwen's lawyers. I hope Owens doesn't do the closing argument by himself. I hope it's split between him and Egan. But I don't know. Owens might want the limelight, you know? You're an engineer for your day job. Honestly, there's too many complexities in how human bodies move, muscles, joints. It is still based down to torque and kinetic energy equations. Yeah, I think Gwyneth Paltrow's expert did a really good job to rebuttal against Terry's expert. However, I just feel like, I don't know. I still felt like it was possible to see both sides happening, even though I was more convinced for Gwyneth because she had some animations and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Tough. You're crushing on Egan. Are you listening to his Spotify playlist? The country lawyer is interesting. He's like, I'm just a dumb lawyer. I can't read. It's like, okay. I think he's trying to be funny, but it's like, okay. You did? Oh, it's very emo. Oh, interesting. How do people know that it's for sure Egan? Because I went to the Spotify. I didn't see his face or anything like that. Or did people stalk his Instagram or something? Is that why? Oh God. What's his Instagram? Let's go see his Instagram. Let's go check him out. Oh, there was an article. Oh. Sorry, I need to fix my hair because you can see my bald spots. Is it in Discord? Also, guys, like the stream. Appreciate it. Oh, God. Where is it in? Where did you post it? Oh, hello, new people. Join the Discord. Yay, welcome. Video games. Where did you post it? Oh, there's a new game coming out. The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom gameplay. Oh, Keldon, you wrote in the LA Hangout channel. I think you meant to put in the True Crime channel. It's okay. No, it's fine. I was just like, why is this an LA Hangout? I think you meant to put in the True Crime. All good. Oh man, okay, so man, this courtroom and Murdoch trial, they always go over the break time. Am I getting Resident Evil 4? Yeah, I was supposed to play it last week, but I got really busy with the trial. And then I was like, I need a rest. I was so tired. I honestly think it's better to have trials happen in East Coast time because I like it better when I start later and then I catch up by listening to it at like 1.5 speed and then I'm usually caught up and then we can skip through all the breaks and all that stuff. And then I only stream for like 4 hours. I like that better. 8-hour streams are tough. I don't know how Emily Baker does it. I think she streams for like 9 hours. I'm like, oh God, get me out of here. I can't sit here for that long. My body starts getting all unhappy. I gotta like get up and like start like working out or something. That's how I usually listen to long trials. Yeah, I usually listen to it at like 1.5 speed. And then when it's, or like actually 2 times speed. 2 times speed is they speak really slow. 1.5 if they speak as fast as like I do. And then I would just skip through the breaks and all the sidebars and stuff. Although sidebars are fun to watch, though. It's kind of nice to see. It's interesting to see the body language sometimes when they're arguing back and forth amongst each other and with the judge. Chris says, it's a simple case. They were skiing. There is a no-fault collision. Terry was a mess because he was an older man. She gets lawyer's fees. We'll see what the jury says. We'll see. I mean, what's interesting is it doesn't have to be unanimous. They only need 6 people to agree on each item. I listen to a lot of my channels at 1.5. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the streamer. Depends on how fast they talk. Are they deliberating now? No, we are still waiting for closing arguments from. Actually, isn't it 12:30 right now? Don't they usually take lunch break at 12:30, or do they take it at 1:30? Well, at least we know they only get an hour for closing, and it's not going to be like super long or anything like that. I'm just hoping that Owens will let Egan do some of the closing arguments because I think Egan does a better job at talking. Owens got all over the place. Weed helps for arthritis and cramps from sitting all day. I don't like weed. Yeah, they're going to be deliberating after closing arguments. I think more instructions, and then they'll go and deliberate. But, I think the jury's going to probably try to decide today because it's going to snow tomorrow. I think when I checked, I think it's going to snow tomorrow. Like, I think it's like 1 or 3 inches, and it's going to snow next week on Monday, Tuesday. So I don't know how far the jury is driving just to get to the courtroom. Well, welcome back, Judge Kent.
Thank you.
Hey, Judge.
Are we ready for the jury? We are? Okay. We're ready for the jury.
You're so lucky to miss opening statements. And I'm like, should I even upload the opening statements on my YouTube channel? I couldn't comment as much because I was just like, there's nothing for me to say here because this is just horribly wrong. I don't know. I don't want to sit there and just bash them the entire time, but it was rough to listen to.
Can we be clear on time? I think they took a full hour.
Okay.
Do they?
7 minutes left.
Owens.
All right, thank you. Mr. Owens, you ready to proceed?
Thank you. Yes. Just to be clear, because James is going to share the time with me.
Sure.
And is the plaintiff reserve any time for rebuttal?
They reserved 10 minutes, which I granted them.
And so do they have an hour and 10 minutes? And do we have an hour and 10 minutes?
They reserved 10 minutes, so you can proceed.
So we have 1 hour.
You can take 1 hour, and if it happens to go over because you're finishing a topic or something, that's fine.
Thank you so much. Well, folks, we didn't even know each other 2 weeks ago.
Oh, he's
Here
awake
we are.
today.
Thank you. It's a beautiful thing, I think, that we resolve disputes in our country in this way, just like Lawrence mentioned. You're plucked and really against your will, even if you had to fight it. In theory, one of these bailiffs could go arrest you and come and make you come here. So we don't do that with anything else, but why do we do it? Because it's such an important thing to resolve disputes in our country in a peaceful manner. So,
Okay.
thank you. I'm Miss Paltrow's, and I'm going to just call her Gwyneth. I'm Gwyneth's lawyer. I'm her spokesman this week. So she sat there for 2 weeks and been a punching bag. We've blown through a lot of these cute little Post-it notes where she's sending me stuff.
Cute
But
little
I take
post-it
it very
notes.
seriously because she's comfortable in a lot of worlds I'm not comfortable in, but she is not comfortable in this world. It is not a nice thing for someone to throw a press conference and say, like King Kong, you knocked him out and walked away, skied away. That is not what happened. And the court has actually dismissed the idea, and that's one of your jury instructions, that this was a hit and run. That took no small amount of work, by the way. But that is what she was faced with. It takes a lot of courage, does it not, for her to sit there for 2 weeks and be pounded like a punching bag. What did she lose? Did she lose? Oh, that's too bad. You had to come in early and have a massage. No. This is what she lost. She was in love with Brad Falchuk. Dated for 2 years. They both had, very interesting, I think, 9-year-old sons and 11-year-old daughters.
New poll.
Kind of cool.
Brady
And they
Bunch.
said, how are we going to get these guys together in a loving, fun time? They're very busy, where we can kind of all be together for a couple days and see if this will work, if we can blend our families together.
Okay.
We're going to make it relaxed. We're going to put a lot of planning. She put a lot of planning into that trip. And so here they are. It's a little delicate because anyone who's been through like trying to blend families, it's a delicate thing. So what happened? They got there. They're organized. First day of skiing. They have ski instructors. By the way, I thought it was cool. I don't know if you did. Her dad taught her to ski at Alta. And she has tender feelings about that. She's been tearful with me in describing those ski trips with her dad.
Where is Alta?
Died in his 50s. In fact, it was so painful she didn't ski for a long time after that because she would miss her dad. But when her kids were of this age, and we're talking with Brad was a big skier. We didn't get to hear from him, unfortunately, lack of time. But they were going to come, okay, let's get our kids together. So what did they lose? They lost a half day of bonding. And
Is Alta just where the D Valley Ski Resort is? Because I feel like everyone keeps flexing, oh, I skied at Alta. Because I think Terry said the same thing.
And even more, because now everyone's stressed. That was the day when they bond up going up the ski lift. They bond having hot chocolate mid-afternoon. They
hot chocolate.
bond relaxed laughing around the fire.
I like this storytelling. This is cozy. Hot chocolate by the fire. He mentioned me getting arrested. Oh, it's a different resort. It's like the Monaco ski slopes. Gotcha. Yeah, I was like, everyone's flexing about Alta. Sorry, Long Crem's having a little jittery thing.
They lost a deep cost to my client. I told you when we first met, I wanted to concentrate on a couple things about Lady Justice here. By the way, if I didn't make it clear, you are Lady Justice.
Me? Oh, I'm Lady Justice?
Blindfold eyes. Because she's blind?
Oh, I'm blind?
She's smart. But she's not going to be distracted by chaos around her. Chaos like media, chaos like sympathy.
Okay.
Oh, don't we all feel bad for him?
I know I
would have
did.
liked, by the way, at least a discount on the camel ride on your request for damages, but that's another issue. The idea is, okay, we're going to focus. And we've tried, and the judge has given you all these warnings. Don't be talking to people. Don't even talk to yourselves yet, because we want you focused. And that's
Don't even talk to
Lady
yourself.
Justice. Now, I talked to you earlier about the scales of justice. This is a civil claim, meaning the preponderance of the evidence. The plaintiffs brought the lawsuit. That's why we're all here. His daughters say, isn't it terrible? These two daughters that he's brought here, his life is laid open. It's because of him. He hit her. He hurt her, and he wants $3 million for it. That's not fair. The easy thing for my client would have been to write a check and be done with it. But what does that tell her kids? It's cost of business. No, it's wrong. It's actually wrong.
So we can tell which lawyers have been looking at Twitter and which lawyers did not look at Twitter feedback or YouTube feedback. He's doing way better than he did in the opening statement. Much better. Okay, enthused, loud, let's go.
That he hurt her and he wants money from her. And that's why we're here. All right. So back to the scales here on Lady Justice. He has the burden to tilt. Okay? Tie goes to her. Now she has a $1 counterclaim. My wife said, don't waive the dollar.
No.
I'm not waiving the dollar.
He did listen to us. Oh, as you were watching my stream, weren't you? I was like, don't waive that dollar. It's done. Be over with the dollar.
But a dead even tie means neither get anything. And I'll walk you through that in just a minute. But let me suggest it's not even close. Let me suggest it's like this, the evidence here versus here. And let me talk to you about that. Let me mention a couple other jury instructions. So I talked to you about no sympathy, passion, or prejudice. We don't want you making decisions on that basis.
Okay.
I talked to you about the burden of proof. That is theirs. And then from today, let me talk to you about a few things. By the way, the burden of proof was evident because they get the last word. Because they have to tilt the things, you may have noticed this morning they could call a witness, and after I'm done, they can speak for a few more minutes. And that's what we do to the people who have a burden of proof. Instruction 30 that you were read today. Gwyneth Paltrow did not leave the scene of the accident without giving her contact information.
I knew it, David.
Press conference 4 years ago. King Kong came out of the jungle, left me unconscious, and brushed off and went away. Utterly BS, and it's been discounted. It's not even before you. The judge took that away from you because it was so obviously false. 31 deals with spoliation. That's the GoPro issue. Spoliation is probably a word you've never heard before. It's a legal term. But the idea is if they destroy evidence, you can assume that it was bad for them. All right, so Terry, in fact, I should say Mr. Sanderson, in fact, owned a GoPro. All right. He talked to his daughter that night, 6 p.m., so about 6 hours after the collision. She got off the phone with the understanding that he had a GoPro video of the incident and typed to him, "I am so glad that there's a GoPro and that you're okay." All right. No one has the GoPro, but I'm telling you this. If you find that there was a GoPro and that he said, that will not help my case, delete. If that happened,
accusation.
you can conclude that it was against him, that it helped us.
Loophole.
It wouldn't have been nice if it had been around. Do you remember when we talked 8-9 days ago? I said you're going to hear so much stuff about damages. So much stuff. But if you find that he hit her, you can ignore it. So we heard like a week of testimony about Mr. Sanderson's brain and how he thinks. He does like to be the center of attention. He likes to be in the spotlight. His own daughter said he would be dishonest for money or notoriety. Does that make you like uncomfortable? It makes me really uncomfortable. When Dr. Gibby was up there, he said, oh, he has a great relationship with his daughters. It's like, who? He says, two daughters. There are 3 daughters. You can't just pretend this stuff away.
Oh, no.
3 daughters. It's pretty important, isn't it?
You can't pretend Jenny doesn't exist. Man, I think he practiced this in the mirror, and I think he practiced with his wife. Good job, Owens.
Witness to know that he's not in the least good relationship. And why? Because she said he was abusive. And a lot of other adjectives that I'm actually will defer to you to remember. So Ms. Paltrow is asking for her dollar, but it's not about the dollar. It's not about, think of what her time is worth sitting here for 2 weeks. It's not about the money. It's about kind of ruining a very delicate time in a relationship where they're trying to get their kids together. That's what Terry Sanderson caused her. Pre-existing conditions. Oh my gosh. How do we not talk about what was going on right before and what versus what's happened after? He's 76. My parents, I'm not being flippant, they were dead by then. They certainly weren't taking 10 trips around the world. So we have to
old
look
people
at
that travel.
Those are the jury instructions. I do want to tell you the special verdict form that was appropriate. Can you bring that up? Lawrence walked you through it, and I don't think there's any harm in me telling you what I want. Is there? I'm going to ask you to fill this out. This is what you go to the delivery when you deliberate. These 3 pages. The last page really is nothing. So it's essentially 9 questions. And I want to show you how I want you to fill it out. I'm not trying to be subtle. All right, so was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? No. If you answer no, go to question 3. So next page. Then you have to, that means Terry Sanderson's not going to take any money away from today. If you write no, so no on 1, you are done kind of in terms of his claim. Then you go to paragraph 3, which is our claim.
Mm-hmm.
Was Terry Sanderson at fault? Yes. We want you to say yes. Was his fault a cause of her harm? Again, we're asserting $1, but it was so much more. It made everyone nervous all afternoon.
Wow, they went they went hard on Terry. Meanwhile, Terry's lawyers were like, "Oh, but Gwen seems like a good person, good mom, you know, and like she truly does believe her version of facts." Good job, Owens. I think it's good to be aggressive like this.
Was Terry Sanderson's fault a cause? Yes. And then, James, if you answer, regardless of your answer, go to 5. If your answers to question, so this is like a tax form where you have to like read it 4 times, sorry. If your answers to questions 1 and 3 are both no, one was, is Gwyneth at fault, you should not proceed any further. And you go to the end and sign it. And this is because you're trying to figure out, was she at fault? Yes or no. Was he at fault? Yes or no. Did it cause any damage? You can actually find today that neither were at fault. Skiing is an interesting thing. We strap sticks on our legs at the top of a very high hill and go down for fun. It's breathtaking. I've done it. I love it. But it has inherent risks. So the back of every ski pass you've ever seen.
Judge, objection. You've excluded this inherent risk of skiing.
We referenced this, Your Honor. You said I could argue.
It applies to resorts and not to people.
No, the argument is improper, so overruled.
So inherent risks. You've seen it on the back of every ski pass. And
wow, I wish you were awake earlier.
Common sense says, hey, if I don't go down this hill right, I could actually kill myself. So skiing is different. It's even different than driving. I mean, we don't drive cars down hills, right? Down icy hills. But we do ski down icy hills. The Deer Valley guy would say, we're never icy at Deer Valley. But nevertheless, it's kind of a dangerous thing. And so you can actually say no. Don't get me wrong. I want Gwyneth paid for the
my fees
hardship Mr. Sanderson caused her.
I want my lawyer fees.
He hurt her, and he's not entitled to sue her. I'm sorry, he's entitled to be here today, but he's not entitled to be rewarded for hurting her. That's not how this country works. All right, James, let's see. Then if we go, if your answers to 1 and 3 are both no, you should not proceed further. So if you found not at fault, you're done. You go to the end and your foreperson signs it. But if you keep going, otherwise continue to 6, James. I couldn't do this without James, if you can't tell. What % of the fault to you assigned to Gwyneth Paltrow? So then you have to figure out a percentage. It's possible that both people are at fault. And how this works is you take 100% pie and you find out, okay, Gwyneth's 10% at fault, Terry's 90% at fault. So a lot of things aren't just so obvious, like gray and white, black and white. We would, obviously, if you get this far, we'd want you to put 0 apportionment to her, Terry, 100%. I guess you could find that Gwyneth's entitled to 75 cents and not $1, believe it or not. Okay, then we keep going.
Wait, really? A lot of you guys think there's a GoPro footage of the accident. Oh, wow. 83% say yes. I'm with the 14%. I don't think there's a footage. Interesting.
James, whatever you can find here.
Yeah, I guess I just believe the daughter.
What
but,
amount compensates Terry Sanders? And we just want you to go to 9 and give us our $1. There was a little issue raised about whether her attorney's fees could be added to that. The judge has said, I'm going to deal with that. That's not in front of you. All right? So your topic is this $1. Believability of witnesses. This was one of your earlier instructions. How do I figure out who's telling the truth here?
Okay, tell us.
And I'm going to put Craig Ramone. First of all, Terry doesn't remember much. There was one just blatant misstatement in their closing, which was Terry could talk to a wall for 2 hours and have a pretty good conversation. That was before the incident. That was misrepresented as being after the incident. Every time that issue came up, I said, before? Yes, before. All right. Let's go to talking about evaluating witnesses. I'm telling you, if we were in law school and we had a class about eyewitness, how an claimed eyewitness actually sees what he thinks he sees, Craig Ramon would be the definition of a bad witness. Oh, no. And I'm going to give you some objective statements about that. He's at the end of the court.
I think he was
says,
too.
I'm skiing, and there at the end, I'm colorblind. I have imperfect vision. I don't know what they're wearing. I'm looking at other things. I'm not focused on them. He said he hears and turns. Well, guess what? Eric Christensen, the ski instructor, who they accused of a cover-up, which was dismissed, heard and turned. They're the same. They heard and turned. Craig describes himself as an eyewitness. Eric said, I didn't see the collision. I just heard and turned. They saw the same things. Interestingly, Eric came right over, and now's appropriate time to watch our little fun video.
There's some inaccuracies here and there, but I think for the most part the captions are okay today.
Put them together so that you guys can kind of envision all this information coming at you. So Eric Sanderson, or excuse me, Eric Christensen, did you like the guy? The guy is like, oh my gosh, I love this guy. He's been doing it for 40 years. He teaches art on the side. He's been a lifelong resident. He's married to someone whose whole life is skiing. And he is not a liar. He is not someone who covers up. He is not someone who falsifies reports. All of those allegations were thrown out. So we're not dealing with Deer Valley. Interestingly, it's not just Ramon versus Christensen.
That's true.
Because all the Deer Valley people, do you remember the cool Whitney who took the toboggan woman? I mean,
the toboggan woman.
Amazing witness. She's up there, oh, I'm assessing things all left and right, you know, nothing, but that's a little different. So we're going to play this, and I think Moses is in orange.
He said he wasn't wearing a GoPro that day. I also think that if he was wearing a GoPro that day, then other people at the accident would have noticed. Like maybe Eric Christensen would have noticed, Whitney would have noticed, the nurse, maybe not GP because she was already kind of like downhill. But I think people would have been like, oh yeah, I saw GoPro footage.
And there's Terry.
Oh, here comes the animation.
Eric Christensen says he sees Terry out of the corner of his eye. Well, he looks and sees because he's in charge of sort of protecting these kids. So he says he's always looking up the mountain. And then he hears and turns. And then the next view, the next one. By the way, no one but Craig has the guy spread out, spread eagle with his head down the hill. There's no facial damage to his face. His skis stayed on. You've heard from these structural bioengineering people. If he came and got hit like Craig described, his skis would have popped right off. Mm-hmm. You don't keep your skis when you get blown. Sanderson says he was airborne, that he was flying. First of all, I'm not going to get into the weight, have him sit on scales, but twice, by the way, not once, twice Mr. Sanderson said I'm 3 inches shorter and 15 pounds lighter. We're not talking about today. We're talking about then. Then he was 3 inches. I don't know if he shrunk 3 inches since then, but he described himself as pudgy. He's coming downhill at a faster pace. I mean, Anyway, the structural engineering people, which is kind of interesting, not structural, biomedical engineering people. I don't know if you got bored in that part or was interested, but I'm telling you, the science does not work for Craig's theory. Okay, so we're going to play this. Mr. Christensen, am I in your way, Judge?
No.
Oh, this is so helpful for the jury. The other side should have had some sort of animation. This is so helpful for the jury.
There's Moses, Carrie Oaks, Apple. It's a little hard to absorb, but here's Gwyneth, and there's Sanderson. Now, let me tell you what Sanderson said, and he said it just at the end of the day yesterday. I said, tell me what's going on right before the incident. He said there was a lady on his left that was kind of tentative. So I deliberately, I think I said, passing on the right. Pretty sure I did. So there's the woman he describes in green. And he's trying to he's watching her. He is blind in his right eye. He said, I use that term loosely. He's an optometrist, for heaven's sakes. He's blind in that eye from a stroke. It's helped him contribute to his retirement. Okay, so he's watching, and imagine this. I'm blind in my right eye, and I'm really mindful of not hitting this woman to the left of me. And then he said,
Owens is doing a good job.
Nobody could have passed on my left except the gal I just passed. So that gal I was real conscious of because I still worried about her. And so as I went past her, I went inches per second past her. I just remember it took forever for me to get past her, and there were skis. And then that's when the collision happened. All right, so maybe run it one last time, James.
Oh, they should make an animation for Terry's
side.
side.
He's left with a blind right eye to make sure he doesn't hit the woman. He's looking to his left, and what happens? Gwyneth described, and praise to the judge for not letting this be reenacted with Gwyneth and being assaulted in front of us all. She is skiing, and two skis come in between her, and this is not a big hill. By the way, I mean, these are kind of photographs. This isn't just claymation here. And comes in, and she's like, what is happening? They're not going that fast, but Terry's going faster because his skis are coming in between her. It's because he's looking with his one, by the way, he has like half an eye because he has a cataract in the left eye, hearing's shot.
Oh, God.
And he says, I'm getting too old. I can't do everything I can. Well, I stopped playing church basketball after my knee injury. I'm like, I love it, but I can't do it anymore.
Oh,
okay,
can't play church basketball no more.
Give things up, especially when we're 76 years old. I'm sorry. I mean, that's life. But he comes in between her legs. She's going, what is going on here? It's not like a ski collision hit, you're out. And he's grunting. His body's against her. She's thinking, am I being assaulted? Because this isn't really a ski collision. And then they go for a little while. She said spooning, and whatever the next next animation would be, James. And then they go to their right. Now, I don't know. You've heard the ribs issue. By the way, if you're 76 with osteoporosis, you can break your ribs.
Is
you
osteoporosis?
may see, and this record's in your documents, these weren't dramatic breaks. I mean, two were not even distended, dislocated. What's the right word? Displaced. Thank you. Two were not displaced.
Thanks, James.
And two were just very minor displaced. Did they hurt? I'm sure they hurt him. I'm sure they did. All right, so she is on top. Eric Christensen said she was on top. And their skis are intertwined. And what is she doing? She's like, okay, I see I'm not being assaulted. And he may well have hit his head. He does have a helmet on. So does she, by the way. Craig Ramon's like, no helmet. He tried to change his testimony on the stand, but I had questioned him like 5 years earlier. No, she didn't have. I was really surprised. No helmet, no mask. Give me a break. for anonymity purposes as well as safety. This is a person skiing with her kids. She's pretty focused on safety. Let me just tell you that. All right. So what's the first thing does? Eric Christensen, is this the last one? Is this the last of the
There were only
animations?
3 admitted, Judge.
Pardon me?
Only 3 were admitted.
I think there were 5.
3 full ones.
3.
Whatever you can take us to next.
Well, but you've already shown 3.
There were 3 videos that were
Eric.
that were entered in their total, and then there were 2 only partial. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So whatever you can give
2
me.
partials that didn't show the actual impact.
Only Craig has their heads downhill. Moses, who you'd love him if he's a cute little 16-year-old now. But we didn't get it. We only got to hear him. He skis over because he doesn't hear anything, but his instructor comes over. He comes over and he sees his mom on the ground. Now downhill because she's gotten away from this guy. Okay, I'm safe. The idea of an assault just entered her mind, she said, for a couple seconds because she's going, what's going on? This is the overhead view, and run it as you can. Here's Miss Paltrow.
Okay.
Apple, Moses. Here's Miss Paltrow. Here's the beginning skier woman. Here's Sanderson. And she's making these small turns on the right. He's making big turns. He's a lot faster. He's a lot more advanced skier, I should say. All right. Here's Christensen. You remember we placed him. Carrie Oakes went on ahead with Apple.
I thought it was Paltrow too. I have no idea.
She heard a commotion, but she was hangry for French fries, and she just wanted to get down the hill. Moses is here. And so there we go. Okay, any other animations? Looking uphill. Paltrow in black. Sanderson. Beginning skier in green. Woman. Watch Sanderson. And then we're done. So it's probably that third one, that 2 back, that's probably the most powerful of them in terms of showing you the layout. All right, how am I doing on time, folks? I want to leave James 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, yay. James gets a little bit.
Thanks.
Yay.
10 after. Thanks, Judge.
I want to use the bathroom, though, but we'll listen. Owen's like, I'll
After
share you
they
some fame, James.
separated, Brad Falchuk comes up, she skis down, but there's then this period of time. So here's Eric Christensen. Eric Christensen said, I came over to find out what had happened. They say he came over to bully him. Deer Valley employees who bully their guests get fired. He's been there 40 years. You could see if his grandfatherly demeanor makes sense under Craig Ramon's story. It doesn't. It doesn't. Eric comes over and he says, first thing I'm doing, I'm taking off skis. Remember, under all stories, no skis came off. That tells you something about the manner of the collision, doesn't it? It wasn't like Ramon describes, flat out straight. By the way, Ramon, oh my gosh, he says he's out cold for 2 or more minutes. Do you know what did you do about it? Nothing. Nothing.
True.
Could you imagine looking at an unconscious person, splayed out, head down, skis on,
That's a good point.
for over 2 minutes? Could you imagine? I'm like, did you call 911? Did you check for breathing? No. Yeah. None of that.
Hey, that's what I said. Did you check for breathing?
Good.
Watch my stream.
grief. Give me a break. All right. Eric Christensen comes over and says, okay, let's take skis off. Remember, he had some personal knowledge because he knew kind of where Gwyneth was, and he kind of knew where Eric Christensen was. He knew where they were, downhill versus uphill, and he knew their skill level. He could tell, he said he could tell because Mr. Sanderson was an advanced skier because he didn't slide. I didn't really know this, but if you do kind of, you skiers will maybe know. If you can work your edges and you don't slide, apparently that means you're a more advanced skier. Okay, so he comes over, he's trying to figure out what's going on, but he actually knows some things. Gwyneth is pissed off. If you hit someone, do you yell at the person you just hit? No. The hittee, and I've been hit skiing, is usually the unhappy one. But she recognizes these things happen until he says, "Did you hit me?" And now she's mad because not only has he hurt her and hit her, but now he's saying, "No, I think you caused this." And then she's like, "Are you kidding me? You just ran in my effing back." And Moses heard it. Moses heard it. All right. So then, Christensen, who I think is just a fabulous witness, I think everything he said is just utterly true. It's consistent with everything. He took off skis. I said, was Sanderson ever out cold? No. If he was, it was like, it would have been like that. Gwyneth, was he out cold for 2 minutes? No, he wasn't out cold at all. Don't you think people would be going like crazy if there was a man splayed out on Deer Valley, head down, out cold for minutes? That's not a believable story. Eric Christensen now is engaging people. Gwyneth's mad, but she's okay in the sense that she doesn't need help. She can still ski, but she said her knee, which she'd already had surgery on, hurt, and she has sustained a blow. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been hit, even if you're in a football game and you're all padded up. She had sustained a blow. She was upset. And then this idea of him not sort of, she says, you know, you just did this. And then what did he say? I'm sorry. Does the person who got hit say they're sorry? No. The hitter says, I'm sorry. And he said it. I'm sorry.
Hitter.
Okay, now she's okay. Okay, he's not denying the stupid thing he just did. But, okay, now we got to sit around and kind of sort things out. Then Christensen goes to Sanderson. Tell me what you want to say. And he said, she appeared right in front of me. That's what he said in his report. She appeared right in front of me. That's consistent with Gwyneth being mad and saying, you just skied into my effing back. And it's consistent with Christensen seeing kind of what was going on. He was the uphill skier. He knew that. And there you go. That's, if everything's consistent, now if he'd said, I didn't do it, she hit me, okay, whoa, now we got to investigate. And then, you recall, so okay, it's clear who did what. Christensen says to Ramon, your buddy just took out Gwyneth Paltrow. I think this was just after she skied away. And what did Ramon say? Did you correct him?
No.
That's the time to say, no, I saw it, and she hit him. That was the time. Ramon didn't say a word. He just sat there. He's not helping his unconscious friend, and he's not denying, under his story, what the ski Deer Valley representative has just determined. Your buddy took out her. All right, so that's the time to do it, not later. Remember, one of the things I said in opening is rely on the evidence before there's thoughts of lawsuits, because then you can kind of rely. People aren't thinking, okay, 10 minutes later, oh my gosh, Gwyneth Paltrow. Wow, that's something else. We were just in a collision with Gwyneth Paltrow. Now people are thinking, okay, wow, I'm famous.
To hit or not to
They're
hit.
not thinking that yet. In real time, he's saying, I'm sorry, and then, are you okay? Everyone always asks this question, are you okay? And he said, I'm okay. Now, he tried to change it a little bit, and we had to go to his transcript, but he agreed. He said, I'm okay. And then ski patrollers come by. So, I mean, there would have to be a pretty vast conspiracy against Deer Valley for this to be a cover-up. And remember, they were already dismissed. Ski patrollers come by. They see some stuff going on. Everyone all right over there? Eric Christensen did not answer that question, because this is a contact now between injured skier and ski patrol. Eric's a ski instructor. And so what happened, Eric? He said they talked. So this is
Craig and Terry?
We're not in there like trying to bully someone. Craig spoke to Terry privately. He said, Eric said, I couldn't hear it. And then, which obviously Terry at some point said he remembers Terry saying, are you okay? Are you okay? So there's a connection. And then what did they say? We're okay. And the ski patrollers left. All right, so that's what's happening in real time. Now we go to the paperwork.
Who's this guy back here? He's so comfy.
Why don't we fill out a big deal, get everyone's statements and everything? Because
Boots up,
this
earmuffs
happens all
on.
the time on ski resorts. If everyone's okay, I mean, we don't have a scene about it. But they go down a little longer. They
Where's
now
Cameron?
know that Miss Paltrow was part of the collision. And then Terry, and you can believe him, but they now know. I'm not skiing too well. I don't feel that well. All right, fair enough. It did come 10 minutes after they found out who they had been involved with. All right, bring in Whitney. Whitney's an awesome, geez, I thought she was a fabulous witness. She pulls up, and she's all business, like, okay, I'm going to assess for unconsciousness. No. What happened? She says, what happened to Terry? He didn't say, I got hit. He says, I don't remember. I don't know. Did Craig immediately go in on that? You'll have to defer to her report. That was a legitimate question of mine. I'm trying to remember. James, when are you up?
James, bail me out. I'm done,
I can
James.
do that. That gives you 5 or 10.
No, give him 15.
15.
Thanks. I'm going to be done in 5 minutes, folks. Okay. So Whitney's delightful, loads him
Owens,
up,
you silly.
takes him down, says, hey, before, I want you to remember 5 things. And this isn't like man, woman, dog. This is like, I got my degree in Michigan. I was Deer Valley Grand Slalom person, whatever. All these really detailed. I like horses, my horse's name, all this stuff.
Really?
Remember it. Terry says, I remember. I knew I was now having a cognition memory test performed upon me. He goes down, and she then says, do you remember? And oh my gosh, he remembered. In fact, he remembered so well, he decided this is a good opportunity for me to text and post a picture of Whitney smiling and just talk about how wonderful she is. Whitney, meanwhile, is sitting there trying to figure out, okay, are any problems here? Are you seeing any signs of concussion? No, I'm not. Do you remember Dr. Edgley? I don't know if you thought that was cool, that a guy who heads up the U's acquired brain injury clinic has had an acquired brain injury. I thought it was kind of cool. Anyway, he goes, what do you look at? You look at period of unconsciousness.
The guy, he doesn't remember the guy's name.
All these people saying he wasn't unconscious. They even imply like Christensen didn't even care about us. He's yelling at us, he's bullying us, and then he's abandoning us on the conscious, drooling on the mountain. Give me a break. Is that what you know Deer Valley to be? So then, okay, he checks out at the main clinic. Then he's down to the Instacare. What is that Instacare PA looking? He's looking for I don't see any signs of symptoms of unconsciousness or concussion. Because they're looking at memories, they're looking at periods of unconsciousness, and they're looking at, what was the third? Do you recall?
James, bail me out.
Memory.
Ataxia.
Attention.
Ataxia.
Ataxia?
That means inability to speech. I don't think that is what they were looking for. In any case, they're looking for any signs and symptoms of concussion. No. Now that doesn't mean he didn't have a concussion, but it does mean this isn't anything severe at all. I mean, okay. Next day he goes to the VA. These are the people he knows. CT. Guess what? They're like all the same abnormalities as you had in your brain before. The problem is. And by the way, he then goes for 3 neuro assessments, and they all say normal, normal to above normal. In some ways, really above normal. So no assessments, those are all his treating providers. Why would we have our experts go do neuro assessments when 3 separate treating providers that he knows and trusts and that no one's paying say above normal? Why would we do that? But the problem is he then goes to Gibby and Fong, and he just self-reports. Everything was normal beforehand. Wrong. And now everything's terrible. Wrong. He doesn't tell him he's flying all over the world, that he's biking, that he's the poster boy for fitness at age 75. He's posting every darn thing. I mean, this isn't like me sending out a private investigator and trying to find pictures. All I have to do is put Terry Sanderson. Oh my gosh, the guy's Mr. Activity. Heaven help me if I can be as active as he is at 75.
I know, that's what I'm thinking too. I hate traveling.
I have 1 more minute.
I wish I had the will to travel that much.
Lady Liberty. So we talked about the blindfold. Lady Justice, excuse me. We talked about the blindfold, and we talked about the scale. The sword. The sword, we want you to use the sword. This sounds harsh because we're not beheading anyone. The sword is to defend a meritless claim. This is a meritless claim. You don't throw a $3 million bombshell in the courtroom, call her King Kong, and walk away. You shouldn't reward that. And Gwyneth, who could have just paid it out, paid the ransom. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to have someone hurt me and then ask me for a lot of money. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to sit here. I said, you're going to have to sit here for 2 weeks in Park City, and you can't even look at your phone. And she said, I'm going to do it. I'm not paying that.
Wow, good job, Owens.
For
impressed.
$1, not because she had to go in and get an early massage, but it screwed up a very carefully planned, important time in her life. Thank heavens the family melded well together. But we want our $1. Thank you for your time.
Judge, we approach briefly.
Wow. Good job. Owen's been watching TikTok, reading Twitter, Reddit, YouTube. Good job, Owens. I think he took the feedback of the opening statement. I mean, I didn't think his opening statement was like egregious. It was a little bit all over the place, but he got his information across. Good job, Owens. Wow, he was really fired up. He studied. I feel like the other two lawyers were like, shit, I didn't think Owens was going to kill it. Man, can we get a redo? I thought he was going to suck. So that's why we sucked. Oh, man, he rehearsed that. Nice job, Owens. Yeah. You know, he had some hiccups here and there.
Mr. Egan, you may proceed.
But that what's make Owens Owens. He's a little awkward.
Hearing this, okay.
All right, what's up, Egan? How are you doing today? All right, Egan.
Okay, so
Mr.
it's
Egan.
my job to talk about Mr. Sanderson's claim that he's not living the life that he used to live, and it's Ms. Paltrow's fault. Hope I can be helpful to you. As we walk through some of this, I wanted to start by just pointing to this document. This, you remember, Whitney Smith was the ski patroller that arrived and wrote this report that day. A little bit later, Mr. Owens could not recall an important fact. This is the witness section at the bottom is not filled out. Mr. Ramon did not come forward and say, this is what happened, let me tell you about it. Whitney Smith would have written that in there if he did. She also pointed to, we also pointed to the fact that she did not write an X at that concussion and head boxes where she could have noted possible injury. She's, to use one of Mr. Sykes' phrases, she has no dog in this fight. She would have put X's there if she was concerned about that. She didn't. You also heard her talk about mild disorientation in her report, and that shows up here. And I think you've seen that the point, gosh, I'm sorry.
You got this, Egan. I know, a little bit nervous.
You've seen it. I'll just move forward for the sake of time. There's those mild disorientation notes, right? And she explained that she didn't see that as an indication of concussion. She just saw it as being kind of rattled from a ski collision. And that's relevant to damages because Mr. Sanderson is claiming that he had a concussion, and all of the symptoms that have come from the collision relate back to that concussion. I think there's considerable doubt that he even had one. He may have, and you could certainly find that, but you might find that he didn't have a concussion. I think, though, that I want to kind of frame this with a certain theme. Maybe you've seen a pattern over the course of these last couple weeks, or the last 2 weeks. On the one hand, you have real events, and then on the other hand, you have embellishments. On the one hand, you have objective tests, and on the other hand, you have subjective reports. On the one hand, you have what happened in the past, and then on the other hand, you have perception of what happened in the past. The realities of life, sometimes difficult realities, and on the other hand, you have anxious exaggerations. I think Mr. Ramon took the reality of the collision and spun it into an attention-grabbing story for friends about dramatic injuries and celebrity. He was talking a lot about that. Ms. Smith overheard it as she was caring for Mr. Sanderson. And then there were those comments that we found in the middle of trial where he talked about it, and you heard him explain that he'd been talking about it with friends. He knew a lot about Ms. Paltrow. He's very interested in this. I think he took that reality of the collision and embellished that what happened, what he saw.
Wow,
and
good
Mr.
spin on it.
Sanderson's taken the reality of his aging body, and he's turned it into a profound injustice perpetrated by Ms. Paltrow. It isn't that. The facts show that his health challenges started long before the collision, and they've progressed in a predictable way. I think you heard Dr. Hesh yesterday say, if you look at his medical records, you look through the history, you take the collision out of that timeline, it reads coherently. The prior stuff would predict the next stuff. You don't need the collision to explain what happens afterwards. It's not to say that he didn't have injuries in the collision. Nobody disputes the broken ribs. And those were certainly painful. They did heal. And then the concussion, if he had one, was very brief, as you heard multiple experts say yesterday, and had very mild symptoms that may have even resolved within that day. So even if you find that Ms. Paltrow caused the accident, I think you only have sufficient evidence to find damages that relate to those broken ribs and the concussion that resolved very quickly.
That's good. Remind the jury about this.
Degeneration of bodies is hard to accept, and mental health challenges are hard to face. It's obviously human to want a concrete explanation for these difficulties. But as the court has instructed you, Mr. Sanderson should not receive the money he asked for if you find that his perceptions do not match reality. The law requires that he convince you that more likely than not, he has suffered real harm, that Ms. Paltrow is and that Ms. Paltrow is the cause of that harm, and he has not done that. Through the course of the trial, you've seen that Mr. Sanderson does have genuine problems, and I don't want to minimize that. Experts from both sides have talked about his anxiety and depression and the trouble he's had with family and relationships before and after the accident. You've seen brain scans. Dr. Black came in here, and he was the only expert, I believe, that took you through all of them and explained how they, were back in 2009, look very similar to what you've seen going forward.
Got a new poll going on?
Abnormalities related to aging and other conditions that might explain his problems. But Mr. Sanderson's argued that you should believe his experts because they evaluated him personally. The problem, I think, with that argument is that, as you've learned these past 2 weeks, these experts didn't carefully review his medical history, and they relied heavily on his unreliable reports about it.
Oh, gosh, true.
They also want you to believe what they've been calling the before and after witnesses, the family and the daughters, the friend, and then the girlfriend. And I think that you've learned these past 2 weeks that they didn't know Mr. Sanderson's health as well as they thought they did. And he was actually, they had, I think, acknowledged that he's good at hiding some of those issues, maybe totally understandably, and reluctant to share his troubles. So you have objective facts and then subjective reports. And the law requires you to find evidence, reality, not just the perception of problems. From our experts, you've heard a consistent, compelling account that Mr. Sanderson had these problems before that the concussion occurred, potentially, again, very briefly, if at all, and that those conditions that he's experienced afterward that he attributes to Ms. Paltrow are the predictable consequence of that prior history. They were, you heard them all yesterday. I guess you had Dr. Edgley the night before, but you heard them all, and it's a coherent, consistent story. I think you got a sense that they've read the records carefully, the objective records of treaters who have, again, no dog in this fight, just reporting what is going on for many, many years before and after the collision. Your Honor, I have till 25?
Yes.
Okay. 5 more minutes.
Go on, James.
I'm not going to get to all of it, but again, I'll try to get to the helpful stuff. Mr. Owens went through the various evidence about loss of consciousness and the different witnesses that have, I hope, persuaded you that Mr. Sanderson did not get knocked out for multiple minutes. But Dr. Eastfold gave you some interesting testimony yesterday. She said that the medical records after the accident are actually inconsistent with serious concussion injury. There was the cognitive assessments she pointed to that were normal. There was the balance assessment that was normal. You wouldn't expect it to be normal. And then there was the alcohol intake that actually increased, even though a concussion would reduce your tolerance for alcohol. Again, careful looking at the events in question, which I don't think you heard plaintiffs' experts do.
No more animal stories.
Mr. Sanderson's perception is different, obviously. He not only thinks he was knocked out for minutes, but he said he had a profound cognitive trouble during this time with Ms. Smith, who said he was cognitively intact, could speak to him. He was writing articulate posts about her, could carry on conversation for hours. So you got careful evaluation on the one hand, and then you have extreme exaggeration on the other. And the law requires you to be careful in your evaluation.
Bring up the femoral artery thing.
Mr. Sanderson sees the time immediately following the collision as a grim period that began a spiral, began spiraling his life out of control. I think he described the bright side before and then the dark side afterward. And I think it's important to recognize that, as we've probably told you too many times, a few weeks just prior to this collision, he was reporting some of the symptoms and the concerns he's saying connect to the collision, right? He's said he was getting old all of a sudden. He couldn't do things that he used to do. He'd get preoccupied with paperwork and other little things. And that's difficult, and I don't mean to make light of that kind of reality that aging brings upon all of us. But it's important that at that time there was no litigation. He's just reporting, and you heard from experts that point to that as a telltale sign of the kinds of things you would expect after the collision that he's attributing to Ms. Paltrow. Mr. Sanderson's told you that the collision forced him to be a recluse. And if we had time, I would pull up those pictures. We went through a lot of them, and I hope that wasn't overboard. You got a sense of just how much he has done since the collision. Traveled more than some people have traveled in their whole lives. And I think it's that this $3 million, I don't know where the board is, $3 million claim, I think doesn't acknowledge that reality. Mr. Sanderson is better than he realizes that he is. And it's not that he doesn't have problems, it's just that he is better than he realizes he is, and it's hard for him to accept some of the decline that he's experienced. And he's, again, grabbed onto this collision as an explanation for it. You've heard from Dr. Hesch and Dr. Edgley about how litigation contributes to problems like he's had, and you heard even from his own expert, Dr. Goldstein.
Like stress.
Obsessed with this case, and it's not good for him, that moving on would be helpful for him. And I think that we all want resolution to this case. Mr. Sanderson's asking to be compensated for a ski injury that the evidence shows that he himself caused. And the evidence also shows that his life is not the mess he perceives it to be. Ms. Paltrow wants him off the mountain too, but she should not be responsible for the cost of that. And so we leave you with that argument. Hope that you can, of course, hope you're persuaded, and thank you for listening.
Good job, Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Egan.
Wow.
Mr. Sorensen?
All right, Sorensen, do better than your other two partners. Got the Sorensen. Good job, Egan and Owens. Fire.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Where's your microphone? Hey, get your mic. Can't hear you.
Thank you for that.
Oh, James. Okay. Mr. Sorensen, I think it should be okay.
We appreciate the time and attention that you've spent with us the last couple weeks going on kind of this journey. There's been a lot of fanfare, a lot of hubbub about this. You've seen a lot of technology. Some has failed, as we've seen today, but some has worked. And through all of that, I want to remind you of jury instruction number 24. Okay? And it says, when the lawyers are giving their closing arguments, keep in mind that they are advocating their views of the case. What they say during closing arguments is not evidence. If the lawyers say anything about the evidence that conflicts with what you remember, you are to rely on your memory of the evidence. If they say anything about the law that conflicts with these instructions, you are to rely on these instructions. Now, you've heard some pretty amazing narratives, a spin on the facts, and you could probably say it cuts both ways, both sides. But I want you to remember,
Y'all might get whacked, okay?
that there
Careful
are
what
two
you say.
stories here. One is Gwyneth Paltrow, and you've heard her defense attorneys lay out her case. You've heard her side of the story. But there's also another side, and that is Terry Sanderson. They've done a really good job of telling you about what Craig Ramon says about how he describes this whole thing happening, and what Gwyneth Paltrow says, or what Eric Christensen says. But the two stories that are important to remember are Terry Sanderson's and Gwyneth Paltrow's.
Okay.
Terry remembers skiing down the mountain, hearing a scream directly behind him, and then bam, as he put it, lights out. okay? He's knocked unconscious. He's left on the mountain figuratively, as we've talked about, trying to figure out what's going on. When he comes to, it's chaos. He doesn't really understand what's going on. On the other hand, we have Gwyneth Paltrow, who says that she's skiing along and all of a sudden she gets hit from behind. It's up to you now to weigh that evidence, to see what you remember, what you recall, not the way that the attorneys characterize the evidence, but what you see in the record. And I will tell you that what you see in the record corroborates the story of Terry Sanderson. Terry Sanderson, I just walked you through his tale of what happened, okay? His versions of facts that happened. When he's hit from behind, he has to rely on the one person, remember that, the one person that says that they saw the actual collision and saw what happened. He has to rely on that. But it doesn't mean that it's not part of his story.
He should have done the entire closing argument, okay?
He's relying on an eyewitness that corroborates what he said. Also, we have the meetup group post that's been talked a lot about and the comments to that post.
Mm-hmm.
That's contemporaneous evidence the day of that corroborates the story that these two have shared with you. It says, and in Craig Ramon's own words, says, it scared the hell out of me. It scared him. It scared what he was scared. So that might be an account that you weigh as to why he didn't step in to try to give life-saving or life-supporting measures to his friend. He's scared. He doesn't know what's happening, and the person that he's relying on to take charge of the situation comes over and starts screaming at him. It's also important to remember that Brad Falchuk, who we didn't get a chance to hear from, and Kerry Oakes both contradict in major ways
So, Your Honor, he
story,
cannot
testimony.
reference the testimony of Brad Paltrow.
He admitted, Your Honor, and that was a stipulation.
Just a minute.
He admitted, Your Honor, that he did not see it.
Your Honor, that testimony is not
Just a
in
minute. Just a minute. Yeah, that's true. That was a stipulated fact.
That was a stipulated fact. So,
Thank you.
Brad Falchuk did not see it. Okay? Eric Christensen, in his own reporting, didn't see the collision. But yet, right afterwards, he injects himself into this chaotic event and, according to him, takes control. He has enough time. Think about this when you're weighing believability of testimony, okay? Eric Christensen has enough time and is all aware about the students that he's being paid to watch and to teach how to ski that are beginner students. Watch what someone's doing on the other side of the run at the same time with, as reported in the facts show, many people skiing on this run. It's a converging run that goes down to the bottom of the run where people can go and have lunch.
All good, Taxi.
He has the ability to pay attention to a young child who
YouTube.
he's teaching, someone across the way, someone skiing supposedly out of control, and keep track of all this. He hears a scream and looks over and sees, as the animations that you've seen, sees him laying on the ground, or sees these two people laying on the ground. He then has enough time to be the first on the scene, supposedly, after telling Kerry Oakes, take care of the kids, watch them, because I got to go over and take care of this. And he does that all in just fractions of a second. Is that believable? I'll leave that to you to decide. I know the way I feel about it. So this witness, who the defense has said is grandfatherly, who's this perfect witness, is not really that perfect. Now again, I'll leave that for you to decide. Now, a lot's been made of what Terry Sanderson was saying or doing after the incident, right? You've heard, and I don't want your eyes to glaze over. That's why I'm not using any of the props. I'm just talking to you. But you've heard a lot about this email, right? The email Terry Sanderson sent later that night, or the first email and then the response back, okay? And I want you to remember this. The GoPro incident or the GoPro video, I guess, we'll talk about this GoPro email, is a response from his daughter, who sat here and testified 3 weeks before she'd been in her own ski accident. She was laying there with her leg up. She was as I think she said, she had pain pills at the time. She was aching an injury. And there might have been kids coming in and out of her room. She didn't remember exactly why she wrote what she wrote. Nonetheless, she admits that she wrote it. And she said here in front of you that it was clearly a misunderstanding to something her dad might have said when he was on the phone with her. That's the shred of evidence that they want you to cling on to try to say that Terry Sanderson did something like destroy a video.
They should have knew the GoPro thing would have been a huge freaking issue. I don't know why they didn't get ahead of it and why they didn't explain it and why they didn't get Terry's login for the meetup. Like, they should have went ahead of it because the internet was speculating for the GoPro thing for days and it was bad.
Of this event. That's our only piece of evidence that they put on in front of you to that fact.
You live in Thailand? What?
Now,
bro?
Again, there are many contradictions in this tall tale and the cartoons you've been forced to watch a few times. And I want you to remember, okay, there was testimony that Brad Falchuk was on the mountain, but he's not in their videos. He's not in their animations. Okay? You didn't see it? But there's testimony that he was right up there close. They left him out. They left out Carrie Oakes and her testimony. We had to read it in because she also contradicts the positions of the bodies after the incident.
She does?
So they've done a really good job of trying to razzle-dazzle and trying to get you to look at a lot of other things that are not important. Because we told you in the very beginning, when Lawrence Bueller stood up. Wait,
what did Carrie Oakes say about the bodies? I'm sorry. I think when they were doing the high school play reading thing, I checked out here and there. I need those transcripts.
So what? That's what they're saying about Terry Sanderson's injuries. So what? He was injured before. His injuries carry through. So what? So sorry he's left on the mountain. We'd like him off. So what? That's what you're hearing. Now, we have shown facts that are corroborated by his medical records that show that from the day after this incident happened, there was a very serious decline. The people that knew him best testify under oath in front of all of us as to the changes that they experienced with Terry. His closest family members have seen those relationships affected. Terry's seen it affected. Again, I want you to weigh this evidence in the way that only you can. And I think that you can do it. I've seen all of you be very attentive. I've seen all you pay attention, and we appreciate that because this is a very real situation for two people, the two stories that are at play in this. I also want you to remember there's been a lot of talk about what Jenny Sanderson said, what Jenny Sanderson reports, but she's the one that went on one of those international trips with him. So it can't be too strained of a relationship. You're not getting the full picture when you have excerpts taken out of context from a deposition that are read to you. You're not. He has 3 daughters. They all love him, and they all said that. Unfortunately, we didn't get the chance to hear some of the positives from Jenny. But their relationship is strong. She loves her dad, and he loves her. But she even said she's seen changes. Now, yesterday you heard Terry Sanderson say, it's a hard thing to bring a lawsuit against the celebrity. Said they destroy your life. And they turned around and said, it's your fault. It's your fault that this happened.
Your Honor, I object and would like a little conference unless you want me to state my objection right in here.
Oh, just kidding. That's not Shanley Painter. Just kidding.
You can make a record later, but let's let him finish.
Just kidding. When you're zooming in closer, it's definitely not Shanley.
Other celebrities.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks. They point the finger at Terry Sanderson,
Quinn's
and it's
face.
your fault. You did this. You brought this on yourself.
Quinn is so
Terry
expressive.
Sanderson believes in justice, just like you've seen right here. It's been waved all over. And he wants the weighing of the scales the same way that Miss Paltrow does.
I'm sorry, which celebrity did they bring up?
But Terry Sanderson believes, and I think we've shown you, that on those scales, someone has facts that are weighing, and someone has a lot of fanfare that when you really pry it, it's a so what. It's a nothing. So, I charge you, and we thank you again for your time. hearing the evidence, listening to all of us, listening to the coughing, listening to the objections, listening to this, sitting through the sidebars. We thank you. But now it's you. It's on you. We invite you now to weigh the evidence, and we empower you and trust that you will weigh this evidence the way you've heard it properly and find on behalf of Terry Sanderson. Thank you.
Good job, Sorensen. All right. Way better than your
Thank you, Mr.
colleagues.
Sorensen.
It should have been Sorensen and Kristen, but I bet you the other
In
two
a
lawyers
civil
wanted the
case,
limelight.
Only 8 jurors are allowed to deliberate and reach a verdict.
Oh, 8? I thought it was
Because
9.
this trial was scheduled to last over this 2-week period. And because jurors may need to be excused because of an emergency or other extraordinary circumstances, 2 alternate jurors were selected in this case. Prior to going back and deliberating, the court is required to excuse the alternate jurors. Some jurors are relieved when they are excused prior to deliberations, but most are disappointed and even frustrated that they've invested their time and energy in the trial but are not going to be able to deliberate. Those of you who are excused, those 2, thank you for your service on the jury. Remember that you're actually not being released as a juror until the verdict comes in, because there is an outside chance that one of the 8 during deliberations may be called away for an emergency. And so the 2 of you that are allowed to leave, you may be called back to finish the deliberations and to vote on the verdict form with the others. So please do not discuss the case with anyone. Please do not read anything about the case. Just keep the existing restrictions in place until further notice by the court, which will be after the verdict is rendered. Please leave your cell phone number with the bailiff so that they can notify you when the verdict has come in and even give you the results if you'd like. Again, we appreciate your time and attention on this case.
Thank you,
So
jury
I've got in
members.
here all of your names, and I'm just going to look the other way and pick 2 out, or your juror numbers, rather.
What is that, a little ice cream bowl?
And so the 2 that are excused are number 15
And 7.
and
2.
number 24.
Oh, I'm just kidding. 24? How did they get that? How did they pick these numbers?
Those of you who are not being excused right now, you've been given all of the evidence and instructions on the law regarding this case. Before you retire to deliberate, I need to give you a few final instructions. First, about questions. As you deliberate, you may be tempted to seek more information. If you do have questions, please write a note and give it to the bailiff, and I will review that note and the question that you have that pertain to the case, and I'll review it with the lawyers and decide on how to answer your question, if it's appropriate. However, it's quite possible, and in fact it's probable, that we will not be able to answer your question. You should understand that no further evidence can be provided to you, and the instructions given to you contain the law which you need to reach a verdict based on the evidence presented to you. What to take into the jury room? Let me first say that you cannot take your cell phone and you can't have any outside contact during deliberations. So the bailiffs will give you some time before you begin deliberations.
Oh, the judge is back in bow tie today.
Text or call anyone and let them know, hey, I'm about to go on be blacked out here while we're deliberating. And then they'll take all of your cell phones and they'll keep them in a safe place back by your deliberation room. You may take the following things in there with you: your notes that you took, the jury instructions and any notes you took on those jury instructions, all of the exhibits admitted into evidence. They are being assembled. The lawyers will agree that, yes, we do have this is the correct exhibits with the clerk, and then they'll be brought back to you in a little bit.
Free yellow snow cones for everyone.
You're also the same with the verdict form.
Plenty of
I have the
snow
original
outside.
Verdict form. It says original on top. This is the one that will be filled out, and the bailiff will bring this back to you as well. When you get to the jury room, please do the following before beginning your deliberations. Read over the instruction on selecting a foreperson and select a foreperson, and then you may begin. At this time, I'd like the clerk to administer the oath to the bailiffs.
Do you swear that you will take charge of this jury and take them to some private and convenient place where they may deliberate upon their verdict, allowing no one to speak to them, nor to do so yourself unless so ordered by the court, and to return them to the court when they have reached a verdict or when so ordered, so help you God?
Isn't it past lunchtime?
You may now take the jury back. Thank you.
Lunch break? Pee break? Stretch break? Oh God, I forgot I made a Meetup account. I keep getting emails about Meetup now. I gotta unsubscribe. Get me out of here!
May be seated. Thank you, counsel. Mr. Owens, did you need to make a record on anything on that last objection?
Yes, thanks. There was just a reference. It's hard to sue a celebrity. I thought that was an unfair statement, given it's this person. This is a person here, not a celebrity. And I thought it was unfair to sort of slime her with Hollywood.
And the court anticipated that and noted. What I was thinking about was the fact that the
Paltrow's
plaintiff
so
basically
expressive.
said the same thing on the stand, and I think he was just repeating that. So, as far as well, are there any exceptions that need to be taken on the record otherwise? Okay. I wonder if there's been a motion filed by
What movies has she been in again?
concerning how to handle the reading of the verdict.
Aside
Mr.
from,
Raymond, are you in the courtroom?
Was it Hallow Shao and
Mr. Hunt.
Shallow
Is that
How?
right?
Shallow
Why
How.
don't you come up and present your motion?
Iron Man? Who's Mr. Hunt? Who's
You
this
could
guy?
First, identify yourself, your bar number, and then who it is you're representing.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jeff Hunt. My bar number is 5855.
Who the hell is this?
I
Like Wayne
represent
Dennison.
TV, ABC News, CNN,
Oh.
Daily Mail, the Associated Press, and NBC News.
Is this when Court TV got in trouble?
I'm ready to hear your motion.
We did file a motion, Your Honor, to modify the court's electronic media coverage order and decorum order, which previously through the trial has restricted EMC coverage of counsel tables. And as the court knows, this is a case that's attracted substantial national and international attention. I think it's actually been a marvelous opportunity for the public to observe how the court reaches decisions, how cases are litigated, and we all benefit from that transparency, that accountability. That is what the EMC rule that was adopted by the Supreme Court was intended to serve. And as Your Honor knows, under the EMC rule, Rule 4.401, electronic media coverage is presumed within the limitations of the rule. And subsection 6 of the rule, there are several limitations for not showing the jurors, not showing minors, not showing exhibits that haven't been admitted, etc. Counsel's table is not within subsection 6. So as the rule stands, the presumption is that there should be electronic media coverage of counsel's table. And we just simply wanted to clarify for the court that when the jury comes in and announces their verdict, that the videographer and the still photographer for the Associated Press be allowed to show the public, as everybody here in the courtroom would see, counsel's table. I mean, that is the most important part of the trial. This is what we've all been leading up to. Everybody here in the courtroom will be able to observe counsel and the parties when that verdict is announced. And we simply believe that consistent with the rule, unless there is an overwhelming, and the rule says a compelling interest, not to show the parties and the lawyers during the announcement, that it should be allowed, and the court should modify the order to allow still camera photography and the video coverage. We've participated with Court TV in over 30 years of trials, live coverage. We've never had once a situation where the the public wasn't allowed to observe the parties and the counsel when the verdict was announced. And that's for good reason. You've had 7 years of litigation, as I understand it. You've had 2 weeks of trial. And the most important people, the people that have the most interest in the outcome of this litigation, is the parties and their counsel.
I hope he wins,
And the
please.
public ought to be able to observe them.
I'm a nosy
when
bitch.
When the verdict is announced. And again, under the rule, Your Honor, the burden is on the party seeking to impose an additional limitation under the EMC rule to come forward with some explanation for why that would be particularly harmful or prejudicial. And there simply isn't any reason for that. If you look at the reasons, the factors that are in the rule, all those factors weigh in favor of allowing EMC coverage of the verdict announcement.
How do you envision this happening physically?
Oh, Mordecai. She was in Mordecai?
Where Wes would like to be positioned.
I watched it recently. I like that movie.
Imagine.
There would be a still camera right here,
Okay.
but without an operator. That is be remote. Is that possible?
I'm not sure if that works for still, but the video would just be.
Just let the
as
cameras
video would
in.
normally work.
Right.
I want to
for-
see everyone.
But for the still.
What's Emma about? Or is Emma also a Shakespeare movie?
Yeah, there was a still camera up here before, Mr. Hunt, but I don't know how much control the photographer had over that camera. And it had a very big, long lens, and it was focused on one individual.
I don't want the still camera. I just want the video.
He says he could fire it remotely from that position.
She was in Emma?
And if it's
The aperture.
well, I'm just wondering if it would be focused on one individual or be focused on both counsel tables at once. I mean, how?
I watched
how do you
Emma. I didn't see
perceive it?
Gwyneth in it unless it's a different Emma. Yeah, Emma's really interesting.
Okay. So at this point, physically, what it would require is a photographer to be standing over here.
Oh,
and
96.
taking
Oh, okay.
pictures. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And, I mean, the court TV camera is very unobtrusive. I don't see it. I don't hear it. It can pan and move and do all sorts of things without anyone noticing it. I realize that right now, I mean, this will be the end of the case. So the concern of an interruption of the proceeding is different, but it's still there in terms of decorum. How can we maintain court decorum and still meet the request?
It is there, Your Honor, but we could station the photographer there in a place that's unobtrusive. The jury's here. The focus is going to be here.
The jury?
It's going to be
Yeah, they
very
did. The
brief.
jury.
It's not like we're asking.
And why can't the still photographer take stills off of the court TV feed?
I'm not.
The quality's not going to be there.
They're just different.
I'll hear it from both sides.
Yeah,
in
they're
a
just
minute.
different modes of capturing the image. The still photographer is just set up, designed just for that. The images are richer.
And in your experience or your client's experience, how have other courts handled the still photography?
We've usually had the still photographer positioned in a place that's unobtrusive and for limited periods of time and not able to go in and out of the courtroom. It's just there.
Thank you. I'll hear from you again, but I just want to hear from the parties.
Sure.
Mr. Sykes?
Your Honor, on behalf of the plaintiff, we have no objection to this. We think it's reasonable. Right now, there's this tripod over here with the camera on it is covered with a kind of a black robe, like two judicial black robes here. And I think if Mr. Bomber was to stand there, and we'll take the screen down, I think that would be fine for us. We don't think that would be obtrusive or violate decorum. So we're in favor of it.
Thank you. Mr. Owens?
He's going to be like, no. So he looks ready to argue. He's got his Post-its, little stickies.
Thanks, Your Honor. First Amendment's important to us.
Okay.
There's certainly been a public benefit, I think, to having this in the public sphere. We've noted 3 violations of the decorum order. The very first day my client walked into the court, after I assured her there would be no photographers in the lobby, there was one right in her face as she went through security. Then suddenly one day another camera appeared, and then a third violation we felt. I don't know if you found a violation, but I have still photos of her being taken just yesterday. So we're all for the First Amendment. The idea that the public should see what we see, the public isn't seated in the well of the court. The public is seated behind Ms. Paltrow. The jurors have an interest here. This is stressful for jurors. To have a still photographer standing right where that screen is as those folks come in, I think even if their picture isn't taken, I think it's strange. I think it will be stressful. Mr. Sanderson actually has a privacy interest here too. I thought it was insightful of Your Honor to ask about how this would physically change. If nothing would physically change, and if they're looking
I know, Sherry.
at the defense counsel in its totality, defense counsel's table, we would have no
Sherry says, no one cares about the public. We care about the YouTube being able to see their reaction. I know.
objection.
Mr. Hunt?
We just want to see, okay?
So the
We're
defense wouldn't have
nosy.
any objection if nothing changes physically in the courtroom from the way it sits right now?
That's fine, but I still think it would be unobtrusive and completely consistent with court decorum to have the still photographer there for the minute or two that it took to announce the verdict. It's not going to, they'll have already determined their verdict. It's not going to add.
Okay, I don't care about this part. I don't care about still photography.
They have known that there's been media coverage throughout the trial. We disagree that there's been any violation of the decorum order. Counsel has not approached me about that. And we're not.
I know you, but I didn't even know you existed in this case until an hour ago.
I've only represented the media in Utah for 30 years.
Yeah. I know you, but I didn't know you were even involved in this case.
So we're not here about that. We're here about my motion, and it sounds like we squared away the court TV, the video. We'd ask Your Honor for the 2 minutes, unobtrusive. Mr. Sykes makes a good suggestion of moving the stand-up, and we think that that can be accomplished, and the public will be richer for it. We're going to have descriptions about the reaction anyway. The press is going to report that, so why not have the images and the video that actually show what the reaction is, so the public can judge for itself what the reaction is.
So the YouTube can watch it.
That's the most accurate way to report this to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, given the fact that there is a presumption in the rule, and given the First Amendment, the court will grant the request as long as, for the reasons stated, for as long as that that is used to sort of stand between the photographer, the still photographer, and the jury. So we can turn that sideways. The still photographer can stand quietly.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume your camera makes no noise?
No, sir.
There's no flash?
No, sir.
Okay. You can stand next to the existing camera then, and when the verdict is read.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else before we adjourn at this time?
Can I throw out an issue that will need to be addressed at some point? Your Honor has had a protective order in place in terms of speaking with the press. After the verdict is delivered.
Gwen over there doing her blue steel. Was he a blue steel, blue magnum?
Is that protective order lifted as to speaking to the press or issuing press releases? I ask because
Press
we've received
release.
a lot of
Press
inquiries.
release.
I think the protective order and the decorum order, I think, talk about the evidence, for instance, depositions being held confidential in perpetuity. But the press issue, I think, is appropriately lifted once the verdict is delivered. So there you go.
I don't quite understand your request,
Sure.
for clarification. Are you asking to continue the protective order, or are you asking for confirmation that the protective order will be released?
As to the press,
As to the press,
we want it to be released. We don't want certain, for instance, depositions that were taken that were marked confidential. Anything that was not, for instance, I have boxes and boxes of things that didn't come into trial.
right.
I don't want that. I want those held.
Everything that was marked confidential, according to this court's confidentiality order, remains confidential.
Correct.
In perpetuity.
If it's been entered into evidence in this court, it's obviously not
And it
confidential.
becomes public.
And then we do want we do want to be able to speak to the press after the verdict.
You may. Do you have any
He's
objections
like, I'm ready to do my victory speech. Let's go.
to that, Mr. Sykes? Okay. So once the verdict is read, the informal agreement between the sides that they won't talk to the press until after the case, that's then no longer there, and they can talk to the press.
I don't know why
And the
this is
press
so
can talk
interesting
to
still.
witnesses. The press can talk to jurors if they so desire, and I'll explain that to the jury. And I'm going to ask the press to please acknowledge and respect the wishes of the witnesses and respect the witnesses or the wishes of the jurors. And if they don't want to speak to them, or if they want to wait or maybe later, please respect that. So I expect that'll happen.
Another thing that Pete just mentioned. The decorum order prohibits any cameras in the courthouse. I think that should be lifted now. I mean, because it's cold out there and wet out there, and they shouldn't have to be out there, and we shouldn't have to go out there to talk to the press if we want to.
Well, I'll consider that, but it's the reason that there's a standing order that there not be press doing things other than inside the walls of the courthouse, other than through a decorum order, or special orders, is for other reasons. There's security reasons, things like that. So I'll talk with those that have some control over that and get back to you on that. Anything else before we adjourn? Not finally adjourn, but take a recess? Okay, so what I'm going to do is when I'm alerted that there is a verdict, I will let the head of security operations, Chris Palmer, know that that's happened, and he will then let all the press know that in approximately 20 minutes or longer if we need.
He does look nice.
That. At least we'll wait at least 20
Judge
minutes
Kent.
before we bring the jury in and read the verdict. So if the lawyers will please leave a cell phone number contact with Jody, then we'll have we'll call you as well if you're not on.
Oh, it's over. The jury's already deliberating. I just find this interesting.
Thank you. We're in recess.
Whoa, hold on a second. So when the jury comes back with their verdict, oh, Gwen and Terry. Oh, do they realize how close they are to each other? Oh, no, Gwen went right. Terry went left. Oh, man. So the judge didn't tell us. He'll give us like, what, a 30 minutes heads up, an hour heads up? What kind of heads up do we get? All right, let's go to Court TV. Court TV's always yapping.
Inside the walls of the courthouse, other than.
Oh, no, they're behind.
Quorum order or special orders is for other reasons.
We about to have another collision. I mean, that right there just shows that she was behind him.
Like that. So I'll talk with those that have some control over.
Okay, all right. Court TV's behind. All right, guys. Well, we'll wait for the jury deliberation. I don't know. I guess that's it. That's all we got. Yeah, we'll wait for the jury deliberation. I would continue streaming, but I'm having major stomach issues right now. I have major stomach issues. I'm gonna probably hop off, and resolve my stomach issue, and then I'll probably just go play video games on Twitch. But we'll keep an eye out on this, okay? So when the verdict comes out, let's watch it together. I should be free all day today, tomorrow, and then next week. So we're not free, but we should be available to be on the wait for. Yeah, I know, right? I think they're gonna decide really quickly, but they're gonna decide. Oh wait, here's a replay. There goes Gwen. She's walking. She's screaming like King Kong yet? Godzilla? Nah. There's Terry. Terry notice? You don't notice. Gwen's like, bye, I'm going right. There is a huge height difference between the two of them. Yeah, I think there's going to be a verdict today. It's like, what, 2 o'clock their time? Actually, they probably have to eat lunch too, right? Or maybe they can eat lunch and deliberate while they're eating lunch. So I think we had a poll up. It says, how long will the jury deliberate? 72% said the decision will be today, 23% decision tomorrow, and then 4% said a couple of days. That's 65 votes right there. All right, everyone. If you guys want notifications for when the stream will start, join the Discord, have your notifications on, and then have your notifications on for YouTube as well. Have that bell on, get the notifications. And when they have a decision, I will be here. Okay, I'll be ready. And in case, if they do make a decision though, can you guys ping it to me on Discord? But other than that, I'm going to end the YouTube stream here. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate everyone. I am probably going to go hop on and take a break from all this trial stuff and just go play some video games. But I appreciate everyone being here. Thanks for hanging out for the past 2 weeks. If you missed out on any of the trial stuff, I did make some videos on it. I did do a major recap of the first week of trial, so definitely check that out. Have a good poop corgi. I don't know. It's like blah, 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 blah. I also got to go check out my garden too. Look what happened to my flower. Someone snapped it in half and it broke off. This is the only flower that I had that was blossoming in my garden. Everything else is like coming in slowly. This is the only guy that's like fully bloomed. And I don't know. It must have been like a fat bird, a fat ass bee or something, maybe a hummingbird. Something came in and just broke this in half. I'm so sad. I thought it was a feather duster. No, it's a delphinium. It's so pretty. It's a delphinium flower. It kind of looks like a little sex toy tickler maybe. But it's not. It's a flower. I'm just sad that it got snapped off. Maybe the wind was blowing really hard. But anyways, everyone, no, not my dogs. My dogs are usually pretty careful, but yeah, it wasn't my dogs. It's either a fat cat out there somewhere, a fat hummingbird, fat raccoon. One of the animals snapped it because the stem here is actually pretty strong. This is a pretty strong stem. So it's definitely some freaking animal. The flower was like that before. Yeah, I don't know. Someone crashed into the flower. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I will see you all soon. I think the verdict will come out. I think we'll get a verdict today. I want to be very honest. I think the verdict will come out today. Those damn cats. Yeah, I got this solution. This it's like heavily scented smells, like citrus and some other stuff that cats don't like. So I got this like scented thing, and I poured it all over the yard, and that didn't do anything for them. They still came back. I don't know how to keep the cats out of my yard. I'll let you know how the cat saga goes. But yeah, right now, cats are pooping in my yard. Mushrooms are growing everywhere as a result of it. And I don't want the mushrooms. I mean, my dogs don't mess with mushrooms, but if they eat one, I just don't want them to die and get poisoned. So that's a huge issue for me. I'm doing the coffee residue too. I'm doing the orange peel, the coffee residues. I got these plastic spikes that I've been putting because they keep crawling underneath the gate. So I got these little plastic spikes to put there. They don't care about that. That doesn't faze them. And it's probably because they're so furry. So they're just like, what is this? This is a nice little back scratcher. So yeah, again, if you guys missed any parts of the trial, watch my videos on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. And I'll see you in a little bit, okay? I think I'll see you all later, probably. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch if you guys want to stop by. We're going to play video games. I don't know if I'm going to start Resident Evil today. Probably not. I'm probably just going to, I don't know, mind numb myself. Just got to take from the trial stuff. But again, I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate all the different opinions that we have. It seems like for all the other trial stuff, I think for the most part, I've agreed with most of you guys. But this trial, I think I'm very divided from you guys, but it's all good. It's nice hearing other opinions. Although I do believe that the jury, they're going to side with Gwyneth. I think that she did a really good job. And it's not like I don't believe Gwen. It's not like I don't believe Terry or anything like that. I just believe the both of them. I don't think Terry was trying to do it to get rich, to get fame. I don't think Gwen's doing this to promote her goop shit. I just think that both people just have very different stories. And I think Gwen's going to win. But yeah. And I believe there's no GoPro footage. I honestly do believe the daughter. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. I do appreciate you guys being here. And I'll see everyone later. If I don't see you later, have a happy Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. I honestly don't think the jury's going to want to come in to deliberate on Friday. So see y'all in a bit. We should make bets on this.